I was right next to her. A situation like that could have been completely prevented. You can feel it. When Hua Miao uses her mental power to scan, all mutants possess exceptionally strong mental power, making it impossible to hide. Right now, Hua Miao has only consumed one ability fruit. What if she continues to consume them in the future? Her mental scanning range will expand to 50 meters, 100 meters, or even further. With this ability, combined with Shun Hung and other mutants like Old Qin, they could completely kill enemies without anyone noticing. Shun Hung now had much greater confidence in infiltrating the Song family. With Hua Miao, a human radar, by his side, what was there to worry about? Hubby, I feel a bit tired. Hua Miao suddenly yawned, looking exhausted. Tired again? Shun Hung raised an eyebrow. However, seeing Hua Miao's exhausted state, he finally reacted. He quickly coughed and told Hua Miao to deactivate her radar state. Checking the time, after Hua Miao activated her scanning state, she could maintain it for over 20 minutes. In other words, even at full mental capacity, Hua Miao could only sustain it for a maximum of 30 minutes. Shun Hung now had a preliminary understanding of Hua Miao's ability. He asked, "How many people do you feel you can connect with at the same time?" "I feel like I can connect with one more person, but the other party must be a mutant." Because possessing an ability also means having abundant mental power, which can withstand the mental link from me. Hua Miao thought for a moment, then answered seriously, "Can connect with one more person? Then we can bring Old Qin along." Shun Hung wished he could immediately take Old Qin for a stroll through the Song family, but he held back. The Song family had only just begun their operations. According to the timeline from his previous life, they had barely even entered the granary and just started the preliminary clearing work. Correspondingly, after turning this place into an iron fortress, the Song family would dispatch a large number of family members to occupy it, using it as a center to expand outward. He would just proceed according to the original plan. When I take over the granary, I'll also have to do the fortification work. So why not let the Song family handle all these preliminary constructions? When the time comes, I'll just seize the Song family's granary. Wouldn't the Song family be so angry they'd cough up blood? "Hubby, what should we do with Dr. Ning?" Hua Miao leaned into Shun Heng's embrace, asking with an exhausted face. "Give her some supplies and let her go back." Shun Hung shook his head. "Oh right, didn't she still need medicine?" Then he told Jin Xian to get some more for her. After all, she had saved Gui Yupeng's life tonight. Besides, it was hard to say if they would need Ning Jiao in the future. Building a relationship with this medical expert was still very necessary for her to treat his brothers. Shun Hung also felt relieved. "Let's go, we're going upstairs." Seeing Hua Miao yawning continuously, Shun Hung directly picked her up and walked out to the living room. "Hubby, what happened to you two?" Seeing Shun Hung carrying an exhausted Hua Miao, Yang Jinxian was immediately stunned. Could it be that hubby couldn't hold back and took advantage of this time to be with Miao Miao in the basement? Looking at Hua Miao's state, it really looked like she had just gone through a massive battle. Ning Jiao had the same thought as Yang Jinxian, her face instantly turning bright red. "What are you talking about?" Shun Hung shook his head and said, "Jin Xian, bring some supplies for Dr. Ning, along with the medicine she asked for earlier, and then take her back." He then looked at Ning Jiao and said, "Dr. Ning, thank you for your help tonight." After saying this, he carried Hua Miao toward the stairs to the second floor. "Wait." Behind him, Ning Jiao suddenly spoke. Shun Hung stopped, a bit puzzled. "Is there still something else?" He seemed to remember something and frowned. "Dr. Ning, if you want to borrow medicine from me, forget it. I'll give you some, but I won't provide it endlessly. Besides, the medical supplies used to treat Gui Yupeng tonight, I won't give them to you either." Ning Jiao wanted to save people, but what did that have to do with him? Not to mention Ning Jiao wasn't his woman. Even if she was, Shun Hung would absolutely not let her act so recklessly. If his woman had such a saintly complex to save people, Shun Hung would directly kick her out, leaving her in the freezing snow to calm down. "I didn't mean that." Ning Jiao looked a bit embarrassed. She lowered her head, rubbing the hem of her shirt, and said softly, "Mr. Shun, you previously said you wanted me to be your family doctor, right? Is it still not too late for me to agree now?" Hearing Ning Jiao's words, Shun Hung was stunned. Was this still the hypocritical saint he knew? Earlier, she kept saying she wanted to save as many people as possible and even tried to persuade him. Why had her attitude suddenly changed so drastically? Jin Xian had a serious talk with me just now. Ning Jiao smiled bitterly. I want to save people, and I even agreed to borrow money to do so, but that doesn't mean I'm an idiot. I treated them with utmost sincerity, but not a single homeowner in the community stood up to speak for me. On the way here, Ning Jiao still vividly remembered how the people in the homeowners group chat had cursed her, even right after she had helped them. The patients she had treated all played deaf and dumb. Their relatives, on the other hand, sternly criticized her. Incited by Xiao He, they lined up to accuse her of being in cahoots with Heshuan Fatsai. She had worked so hard to save so many people, but looking back, not a single one was willing to stand by her side. Ning Jiao was heartbroken to the extreme. The moment she became a medical student, she had solemnly sworn to make saving lives her lifelong dream. Snatching one more person from the jaws of death could bring a smile to a family. However, after hearing Yang Jinshuan's advice just now, coupled with the coldness of the homeowners, Ning Jiao felt that she had truly been wrong. She had viewed human nature too simply, too beautifully. Added to that was the medical equipment Shen Heng had just brought out, which she had never even heard of. Ning Jiao was extremely interested. Finally, she made a decision. Shen Heng possessed a massive amount of supplies, and he certainly wouldn't lack subordinates. In the future, these people would also get injured. Saving them was also saving lives. Moreover, she could stay in this warm house and eat delicious food. To be honest, she really didn't want to leave. No matter how emotional Ning Jiao was, she clearly knew that since the blizzard hit, she had lost contact with her husband. Her husband was probably already dead. Jin Xian was right. In this apocalypse, a beautiful woman like her, if she didn't rely on a strong man, would only become an object for people to vent their frustrations on. And Shen Heng, standing right in front of her, was naturally a pretty good backer. Seeing Shen Heng remain silent for a moment, Ning Jiao carefully and tentatively asked, "Can I stay?" "Of course." Shen Heng snapped back to reality and smiled at Ning Jiao. "Welcome, Dr. Ning." Then, he instructed Yang Jinxian. "Jinxian, there's still an empty room on the first floor. Help Dr. Ning settle in." "Yes." Yang Jinxian nodded, then led Ning Jiao to the room next to Yang Mu's. The room was exquisitely decorated, and the bedroom temperature was even warmer than the living room. Ning Jiao felt that sleeping at night would only require a thin summer blanket. This made her feel even more dazed. Outside, the white snow was falling heavily, almost reaching the second floor, yet inside the room, it was so warm. The other homeowners in the community were all huddling together, struggling to survive each day. Even for drinking water, didn't they have to buy it from Shen Heng? Yet, in Shen Heng's house, they could even afford the luxury of taking a shower. "You go take a shower first." Yang Jinxian smiled at Ning Jiao and brought out a brand new set of bedding. "This room will be yours. But Dao, you must remember carefully." Yang Jinxian sat on the edge of the bed. With a serious expression, she warned Ning Jiao, "My husband hates the saintly complex. So in the future, if you want to save someone, you must ask for my husband's opinion first. To tell you the truth, earlier, I even thought about letting you become my husband's girlfriend too." Hearing this, Ning Jiao couldn't help but widen her eyes. Before she could speak, Yang Jinxian sighed. At first, he was very interested, but after hearing your name, he immediately waved his hand and flatly refused. "I feel it's because you're too passionate about saving people. He even heard about you asking to borrow money from me to buy medicine and wanting to provide relief to the households in the community. My husband directly demanded all my remaining money back." Yang Jinxian shrugged. "Right now, I don't have a single penny either. So Dao, don't even think about borrowing money from me and then sneaking out to find Guai Yuping to buy medicine to save people. If you really do that, Shen Heng will absolutely show no mercy and kick you out directly." Ning Jiao silently nodded. Her heart was in turmoil, extremely shocked. Shen Heng even demanded Jin Xian's money back? This was Yang Jinshuan's money. He was truly too overbearing. But thinking about it again, Yang Jinxian had now become Shen Heng's woman. She didn't need to say anything more, just hesitated a bit and said, "Jin Xian, you just said you wanted me to be your husband's girlfriend? I didn't mishear, did I?" Seeing Ning Jiao's dumbfounded expression, Yang Jinxian suddenly remembered the message Hua Miao had sent her 2 days ago. At that time, I must have been just as shocked by Hua Miao's actions as Ning Jiao is now. It's completely unacceptable, right? That's right. Yang Jinxian smiled and nodded. Hua Miao said the exact same thing to me back then. I was just as shocked as you are. However, her proposal at the time was for me and Mu to simultaneously become Shun Heng's girlfriends. At the same time, Ning Jiao's expression froze. This was playing too wild. Hua Miao, this girl looks so beautiful. She doesn't seem like someone with a love-struck brain. Just to please Shen Heng, how huge of a concession did she make? Shen Heng controls a massive amount of supplies. You're already clear on this point, Yang Jinxian said. A man like that, the women around him will only increase in the future. Hua Miao's thinking makes sense. It's better for us to be generous and proactively choose a few more wives for Shen Heng first, rather than letting him find women outside whom we don't know. We can join forces to exhaust him. That way, he won't mess around outside anymore. What are you saying? Ning Jiao's face instantly turned bright red. Dao, you're a married woman too. What's there to hide? Yang Jinxian burst out laughing and continued. Shen Heng is especially incredible. Moreover, I feel like he's getting stronger and stronger. Even Hua Miao and I together are no match for him. If this continues, Mu Xian will sooner or later be caught by him. Dao, you're my good sister. Right now, your husband's whereabouts are unknown. I'm afraid he's already. If you can obediently listen to my husband, there will sooner or later be a place for you as a mistress in this house. After all, Miao and I really can't handle it. Stop talking. Ning Jiao lowered her head, her face burning even redder. All right. I won't say any more. Yang Jinxian looked at Ning Jiao's flushed face, smiled gently, then changed the subject. After chatting for a few more sentences, she went upstairs. Ning Jiao sat on the edge of the bed for a moment before going into the bathroom. As the warm hot water flowed down her snow-white skin, Ning Jiao almost cried out. Outside, this was something she wouldn't even dare to dream of. After taking a shower, her whole body felt refreshed. Ning Jiao comfortably lay on the bed. Such an environment made her feel as if she were dreaming. It was simply hard to fall asleep. At this moment, a very faint sound suddenly came from upstairs. She frowned, raised her head, and instinctively perked up her ears. A moment later, Ning Jiao's face and ears turned bright red. Unexpectedly, Jin Xian and Shen Heng had already started. Hadn't he just been with Hua Miao? Why was he now? Moreover, Yang Jinshuan's voice was getting louder and louder, seemingly extremely joyful. Ning Jiao covered her head, but a moment later, she couldn't help but lift the blanket and listen in a daze. It should be known that her room was even closer to the master bedroom on the second floor than Yang Mu's room. This meant that the sounds she heard were even clearer than what Yang Mu heard. Ning Jiao's cheeks grew even rosier. Her legs also automatically curled up. On the second floor, Yang Jinxian looked at Shen Heng with an infatuated face. Beside them, Hua Miao was already fast asleep. Tonight was a world just for her and Shen Heng. Yang Jinxian felt as if she were a small boat tossing and turning in a stormy sea. Just a slight misstep, and she would be swept away by the fierce waves. Then, she couldn't hold back anymore, calling out all sorts of titles. Finally, she even called out toward the first floor, Dao, come help me. Downstairs, Ning Jiao tightly hugged her head. What was Jin Xian yelling about? How could she call me to help with something like that? Really? Yang Jinxian looked hotly at Shen Heng while enjoying herself, thinking inwardly. Ning Jiao isn't some naive, sheltered girl either. She naturally knows this feeling. As long as you move in, are you afraid you won't submit to Shen Heng? With you added in, wouldn't we be like the three heroes fighting Lu Bu? I don't believe Shen Heng will still have any thoughts about Mu Xian then. If he really still has the energy, then I have nothing more to say. The next morning, Shen Heng got out of bed feeling refreshed. After going downstairs, he saw Yang Mu and Ning Jiao busy in the kitchen. Good morning, Shen Heng greeted the two women. But when they turned around, they both had dark circles under their eyes, glaring at Shen Heng with a mix of embarrassment and anger. Yang Mu had been woken up in the middle of the night. She softly complained. Looks like my days and nights will be reversed from now on. I guess I can only catch up on sleep during the day. Otherwise, I won't be able to sleep at all tonight. As for Ning Jiao, she had truly understood the ferocity that Yang Jinxian had mentioned. Shun Hung is truly a perpetual motion machine. Doesn't he know what fatigue is? Thinking about how Yang Jinxian had even suggested to Shun Hung that she should become a part of it, her face instantly turned bright red. She glared at Shun Hung, then turned around and hurriedly went back to work. What's wrong? Shun Hung was a bit dazed, but seeing Yang Mu's expression, he suddenly slapped his forehead and realized. Could it be that the noise he and Yang Jinxian made last night was heard by Ning Jiao? Well, if she heard it, she heard it. What's so abnormal about the love between a man and a woman? After finishing breakfast, he stood up and left the villa. He had already greeted old Qin and the others. As soon as he stepped out the door, he saw the three of them already waiting at the entrance to the basement of Villa number 3. Yupeng, work hard and make a few more trips today. Don't worry about selling out of supplies. Sell as much as you can, understand? Shun Hung patted Gui Yupeng's shoulder. Understood, Gui Yupeng said respectfully. But Shun bro, you blacklisted those people before, and you also said you wouldn't sell supplies to them anymore. But as far as I know, those people seem to still have quite a bit of money. Gui Yupeng explained. For example, Old Wang in the community. He's a member of the property management committee, and his son is a minor official. They usually make quite a bit of money. More importantly, that blooming wealth woman. She's the general manager of a company. Although the company isn't large, she has a lot of cash on hand. Rumor has it that right on the day of the heavy rain, she had just gone to the bank to process a loan. In the face of money, what principles are we talking about? Shun Hung said seriously. Making money is the #1 priority. I don't believe she won't buy. When she comes to buy, just pretend you don't know her, right? But, you said before, I'm afraid selling to her will make you lose face, Gui Yupeng said, looking troubled. What era is this? Surviving is the king's way. Who cares about face? Shun Hung lightly tapped Gui Yupeng's head. Apply what you learn. Remember, I only care about the final result. The process doesn't matter. How to get all their money into our hands. That's the most important thing. Gui Yupeng nodded vigorously. It was clear that Gui Yupeng still hadn't developed the ruthless and scrupulous mindset he had in his previous life. He needed to help him temper it a bit earlier. As long as people are willing to spend money and follow my rules, then sell to them. Don't be afraid of selling out. I have plenty of supplies, Shun Hung instructed. Gui Yupeng nodded silently. Ren Jie, come with me. Shun Hung waved at Ren Jie, then walked into the basement of Villa number 3. Ren Jie was dazed. After going inside, he saw Shun Hung hand him a grayish-brown fruit. Boss, what is this? Ren Jie asked blankly. Stop talking and eat it, Shun Hung glared at him. Ren Jie didn't hesitate and immediately swallowed it. He was absolutely loyal to the boss. Moreover, it was clear that as long as he was loyal, the boss wouldn't mistreat him. He had no doubts, so what was there to worry about? Shun Hung nodded inwardly. Although Ren Jie hadn't been following him for long, it was clear that he was an honest person. As long as he treated him well, he would treat him twice as well in return. After Ren Jie swallowed the ability fruit, he initially had no expression. But very quickly, his eyes widened, and a wave of warmth surged up. Soon, the warmth gathered. Ren Jie looked at Shun Hung in confusion. Seeing Shun Hung smile and nod at him, Ren Jie immediately knelt on the ground. Boss, your great kindness to me. I will never forget it for the rest of my life. Please rest assured, if I ever dare to betray you in the future, I am willing to die a gruesome death. Oh, come on, don't be so polite. Shun Hung pretended to help Ren Jie up. You're my brother. Why say such things? Boss. Ren Jie's face flushed red. He was simple-minded, but not stupid. Now that he had awakened his ability, he naturally understood just how precious the ability fruit Shun Hung had given him was. The boss even gave me such a precious thing. Even if I have to risk this life of mine, I must protect the boss's safety. Seeing his clear and resolute gaze, Shun Hung felt secretly smug. This kid, just obediently work your ass off for me in the future. Ren Jie, what is your ability? Shun Hung asked. Everyone's physique is different, and their abilities are also different. I'll demonstrate it for the boss. Ren Jie glanced around, took a deep breath, then narrowed his eyes. In a flash, his entire body disappeared. Almost in the blink of an eye, he returned to his original position. In his hand, he was already holding a packet of instant noodles. He smirked proudly at Shun Hung. Boss, my ability is speed. So fast. Shun Heng's eyes lit up. Even when Shun Heng concentrated fully, he only saw Rin Jie flash by like a shadow. If Rin Jie had attacked Shun Heng just now, Shun Heng would have immediately activated his strange fire to counter it. Of course, a level 2 ability dealing with Rin Jie's level 1 ability. Even though the fire-type ability wasn't inherently as strong in raw physical stats, it was enough to crush Rin Jie. If Old Qin represented formidable strength, then Rin Jie represented speed. This was truly a shadow assassin. Go with Yuping and secretly protect him. Also, tell Yuping to recruit a few more people. In the future, you two will also have to go outside with me, Shun Heng instructed. Go outside. Rin Jie was surprised, mixed with joy. Who wouldn't go crazy from being cooped up at home for so long? Being able to follow the boss out of the community, even just for a little while, was already satisfying enough. Shun Heng nodded and instructed. You must speed up the sales, understand? Tell Gui Yuping to figure out a way to boost sales and make money for me. Yes, Rin Jie replied respectfully, then walked out of the basement. This group of people had almost finished moving, filling up a pickup truck. Of course, during the moving process, they also saw the corpse of Zhao Weilong along with his 4 lackeys. Zhao Weilong had betrayed the boss, and even wanted to steal the boss's supplies, so he was killed last night. Gui Yuping naturally saw the expressions of these people. He pointed at Zhao Weilong's corpse and said, "What you saw today, erase it completely from your minds. You are not allowed to reveal it even to your wives. Otherwise, you've seen the fate of these people." We wouldn't dare. The lackeys shook their heads repeatedly. I only let you follow because I saw you were agile, Gui Yuping said coldly. Zhao Weilong is dead. Now is the time the boss needs people. As long as you perform well, the boss will naturally reward you handsomely. But if you dare to be ungrateful, I will strike before the boss even has to. Whoosh, a gentle breeze swept by. Rin Jie, with an unchanging expression, appeared beside Gui Yuping and added, I will kill all of you. Why is this guy like a ghost? How did he appear? Everyone was startled and panicked. Even Gui Yuping was scared into shivering. Are you a ghost? How do you walk without making a sound? Rin Jie smiled, turned around, and walked outside. I belong to the wind. The wind. Gui Yuping scratched his head, not understanding why. Rin Jie didn't explain either. The boss had said that in the future, he would give Gui Yuping an ability fruit. When that time came, he wouldn't need to protect Gui Yuping anymore, but could go outside with the boss to see what the whole world had become under this apocalyptic blizzard. He was really envious of Old Qin. Shen Heng drove the snowmobile and left the community with Old Qin. It was the 6th day of the snowfall. Today, the snow had lessened a bit, with only tiny snowflakes drifting down. The sunlight had also pierced through the thick clouds, shining down on the road. Those who were extremely concerned about the weather outside hurriedly ran downstairs, wanting to try walking on the snow. However, it still wasn't solid enough. Just one step, and they would sink deep into it. Moreover, there were still toxins in the snow. People could only stand in their respective buildings, at the mid-level stairwell of the 2nd floor, looking at the sunlight reflecting on the snow. The sun is out. Someone started cheering. Everyone firmly believed that with the sun appearing, the snow would gradually melt. Furthermore, the snowflakes in the sky had significantly decreased, almost stopping. What did this mean? It meant that social order would be restored once again. Finally, we won't have to find ways to beg Gui Yuping to buy a packet of instant noodles for 10 or 20,000 anymore. Some people even secretly discussed that after Gui Yuping appeared, they would take the opportunity to act. It had to be said, humans truly are creatures that forget the pain once the scar heals. The fact that Shun Heng had fired a gun and killed dozens of people in the community before had long been completely forgotten by them. The snow has stopped. The government will naturally come soon. With the government protecting us, do we still need to fear you? That's right, we still have to go report him. You scammed our money, you must return it all. How can a packet of instant noodles cost over 10,000? This is completely unreasonable. With hopes surging in their hearts, some people even took unburned household items and cardboard boxes, laid them on the snow outside, and walked back and forth on them. Hey, look at that. What is that? A sharp-eyed person pointed at the shadow of Shun Heng's snowmobile, his face full of shock. Is that a snowmobile? It must be. This speed is way too fast. The others also saw it and hurriedly craned their necks, nodding repeatedly. A snowmobile. This must be someone from the government. The government is here to save us. Someone reacted, extremely excited. I've never seen that type of snowmobile before. It's too fast. It can't possibly belong to an ordinary civilian. This must be someone from the government. Driven by surging emotions, someone shouted loudly toward Shun Heng's direction. Very quickly, everyone's shouts merged into one. What are those people yelling about? Shun Heng, who was driving the snowmobile, was initially startled by the sudden shouting, then frowned and muttered. It sounds like they're telling us to save them? Old Qin was a bit unsure. A bunch of idiots. The sun just came out, the snow hasn't even stopped, and they all ran outside. Isn't this just seeking death? Shun Heng snorted disdainfully. These kinds of trash just need to hide at home and be my customers. What's there to yell about? Saving them is useless. The sun had just appeared, and the snowflakes had almost completely stopped. Any normal person would know that this was the time when the temperature was the lowest. There's a saying, it's not cold when it snows, it's cold when the snow melts. As long as the sunlight hit the accumulated snow, a large amount of snow would begin to melt, releasing cold air. Yet a bunch of fools actually ran out to bask in the sun. If they didn't freeze to death, it would be a miracle. Shun Heng remembered the first time the snow melted. In just one night, the temperature dropped another 10 degrees, hitting rock bottom at -80 degrees. A massive amount of snow melted into water, flooding the streets with ice. Until a few days later, another blizzard descended from the sky, completely freezing the melted ice below. In the days that followed, the snow fell intermittently. Until Shun Heng was reborn, there was still light snow falling outside. When it was snowing, it was relatively safe. The most dangerous time was when the sun appeared. Once the sun appeared, it also meant the outside air would suddenly drop, and the ice and snow would melt. Even Shun Heng's fire-type ability couldn't melt the accumulated snow to create a snow tunnel. If not careful, the melting snow could fall on his head, or even flow down his face into his mouth. That stuff was pure poison. However, in this life, Shun Heng didn't care anymore. No matter how fast the snow melted, it couldn't all turn into snow water instantly. And the snowmobile Shun Heng was driving could easily go in and out. He ignored the noisy crowd shouting at the high-rise apartment buildings and continued to drive Old Qin away. Did you see clearly where that snowmobile came from? Someone asked, probing. Everyone simultaneously turned their heads to look at the young man who had first discovered it. The young man was startled. He hurriedly said, that vehicle. It seemed to come from rows 1 and 2 of the townhouse villas. I didn't see clearly either. The townhouse villas? Is there a big shot living there too? Someone couldn't help but ask. This was agreed upon by the others. Very likely. After all, living in a detached villa is a bit too conspicuous, but townhouses are much more discreet. Does that mean that snowmobile came to rescue some big shot? It has nothing to do with us at all. Many people sighed. What's the rush? The middle-aged man with narrow eyes who had analyzed things earlier glared at everyone. Although that snowmobile was tightly covered and far away, you could still see that the vehicle wasn't large. That means the big shot has left, but his family's supplies haven't all been taken away, someone quick-witted chimed in. Then he felt a bit regretful. How could he say this out loud? Wasn't this letting others know? The middle-aged man was also annoyed. He had just been busy showing off his analysis, and forgot that these things shouldn't be said out loud. What are we waiting for? Let's go find it now, someone shouted loudly. The rest hurriedly turned around and ran toward the basement. Then everyone made a beeline for the townhouses. Seeing this scene, the homeowners in other buildings, although unclear of the intent, followed the herd mentality and swarmed after them like a broken beehive. In the underground tunnel, the scene was fiery, like a marathon taking place. People pushed and shoved. One by one, they desperately rushed forward. Damn it! Why is there so much snow on the ground? Someone who had just run down slipped on the slippery, accumulated snow in the tunnel and fell flat. He muttered curses, got up, and seeing others had overtaken him, he brushed off the snow and accelerated. Isn't this underground tunnel completely sealed? Why is there snow everywhere? The running crowd also noticed the anomaly, but they didn't stop. They were only afraid of running slower than others. Only those who rushed fast would get a share. Brothers, once we finish packing up, we'll Guo Yuping had just turned his head to say something to his brothers behind him when he suddenly heard the intense, echoing sound of heavy footsteps in the tunnel. Huh. Guo Yuping's eyes widened as he looked up. The next moment, he gasped. A dense crowd of people was swarming over like flies to shit. Damn it. Guo Yuping was startled and hurriedly pulled out the pistol at his waist. With a vigilant face, he pointed it at the oncoming crowd. This pistol was the one Shin Hong had just given him to guard against the unexpected. He didn't expect that after holding it for only 5 minutes, he would have to use it. However, this small pistol, facing the massive crowd, it seemed to have no effect at all. Guo Yuping swallowed hard. Meanwhile, Ren Jie had already taken a step forward, directly jumping onto the hood of the pickup truck in front. His face darkened as he angrily shouted at the crowd. All of you, stop right there. But these people didn't care at all. In fact, when they saw this pickup truck, everyone's eyes revealed a look of greed. So this was where Guo Yuping's supplies were piled up every day? The truck bed was full of supplies. Beside the truck, Guo Yuping's men were still reaching out to close the basement door of Villa Number 3. This scene made everyone even more frantic. They hadn't expected that what was originally a search for a big shot's house would result in discovering Hushuan Fatsai's supply stash. Hushuan Fatsai's supplies are all in this villa. Everyone, hurry up and grab them. A truck full of supplies like that. What are you afraid of? Charge together. Some people even saw the truck bed full of supplies and became even more reckless, disregarding their lives. I said, stop right there. Ren Jie's face was cold as he shouted angrily. But these homeowners, old and young alike, had gone completely mad. Although the crowd in the back couldn't see the situation clearly, hearing the conversation of the homeowners in front, they also desperately pushed forward, refusing to stop. You won't stop, huh? Ren Jie gritted his teeth. We're all neighbors. I don't want to offend you. Go back now, and I'll spare your lives. Who the hell do you think you are? Someone muttered a curse. Ren Jie snatched the pistol from Guo Yuping's hand and fired a shot at the ceiling. Bang! The gunshot rang out. The frantic homeowners all froze for a moment upon hearing the gunshot. Some people had already started to back away. Only then did everyone remember. The Ren Jie in front of them was Hushuan Fatsai's lackey, a cold-blooded killer. Just yesterday afternoon, Hushuan Fatsai had slaughtered dozens of people in the community. However, an old man leading the charge suddenly yelled, "There are so many of us. What are we afraid of? He doesn't have a machine gun like yesterday. Do you see? That machine gun is still stuck in the wall over there." He pointed at Zhao Weilong's corpse on the wall and shouted loudly. However, after saying these words, the old man quietly retreated to the back. That's right. In everyone's eyes, a blood-red frenzy appeared once again. It's just a pistol. How many bullets can it have? There are so many of us. Can he kill us all? Especially those in the back. They became even more reckless and fearless. With the crowd in front pushing, they could all serve as cannon fodder. What the hell am I afraid of? In an instant, everyone once again pushed and shoved forward. Boss, you were right. Ren Jie muttered softly. Human nature is inherently evil. You are still too merciful. Why do you still want to sell supplies to these animals? Just let them starve to death. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a tiny remote control, his cold eyes staring intently at the opposite side. Boom! As everyone was desperately charging forward, a violent explosion suddenly erupted from the ground. More than a dozen people at the very front were instantly blown backward. Their bodies were blown to pieces, blood spurting everywhere. Many people standing right behind them were splattered with blood. All of these people stood frozen in place. The crowd charging from behind also stopped in panic at this moment. They didn't know exactly what had just happened in front, but they clearly heard the massive explosion echoing through the underground tunnel. Some people's ears were even ringing, accompanied by pieces of corpses flying high into the air. Landmines. The old man who had been shouting loudly just a moment ago was now both angry and terrified, glaring at Ren Jie. You guessed right. Ren Jie's face was full of a cold smile. Let me tell you, in this underground tunnel, we've buried a lot of landmines. Whoever isn't afraid of death, go ahead and try charging forward. As long as I press the button, all thousands of you will die. Everyone looked at Ren Jie standing on the roof of the car and simultaneously swallowed hard. Still want to continue? Robbing? Ren Jie scolded. A bunch of cheap bastards. Our boss tried to trade with you, yet you insisted on seeking death. You want to charge up and rob us? Go ahead, keep robbing. Let's see if you run faster, or if the landmines in my hand explode faster. No one dared to utter a word. From the back of the crowd, a few crying girls squeezed forward, kneeling before the scattered corpses on the ground, wailing miserably. If you want to cry, get the hell away from here. Rinjie impatiently shook the remote control. Everyone's necks swayed along with the remote control, terrified that Rinjie might accidentally touch a button. They didn't know exactly how many landmines were under their feet. Moreover, it looked like these landmines were remote-controlled. Whichever button Rinjie pressed, the corresponding landmine would explode. Last night, after Rinjie and Old Qin helped Guo Yuping move, they stayed up all night in the underground tunnel burying all the landmines. The underground tunnel was originally a cement road, but Old Qin went outside and dug up a lot of snow, then used the snow to completely cover the underground tunnel. Even a powerhouse like Old Qin had to work until midnight. Although Rinjie's whole body ached, seeing Old Qin still transporting a large amount of accumulated snow, he could only follow suit. Old Qin was the silent type, but he always kept Shen Heng in his heart. If Shen Heng treated him so well, giving him an ability fruit and arranging for him to live in a villa, he naturally wanted to show his corresponding value. Thinking about how he would go out with Shen Heng today, Old Qin handed the landmine remote control to Rinjie. After all, he would be going with the boss, and the two boss ladies were still in the villa. He had to protect the boss ladies well. In his heart, the boss ladies were the boss's women, and naturally, they were targets he needed to protect with all his might. When handing the remote control to Rinjie, Old Qin instructed that if necessary, he could even detonate all the landmines. Even if it blew up the underground tunnel, it didn't matter, as long as the boss ladies were kept safe. Originally, Rinjie thought it was just an instruction, but he didn't expect the landmines to actually come in handy. I'm afraid Brother Qin didn't expect this either, right? Rinjie shook his head slightly. But for now, it seemed to have scared these people off. That was fine. Since you're already here, whoever wants to buy supplies, come up one by one and buy them. Rinjie shouted. Everyone exchanged glances, but no one dared to move, afraid that a slight misstep would get them blown up by a landmine. Hurry up, Rinjie roared. If you're not buying, get lost. I'll buy. The young man standing at the very front swallowed hard, glanced to both sides, and seeing the others still indifferent and not daring to move, he finally mustered the courage to step forward and whispered, Big bro, I'll buy a packet of noodles. Yes, I want a bottle of water too. Guo Yuping had recovered his wits and hurriedly stepped forward, directing his lackeys. 1 packet of noodles, 1 bottle of water, 200 blocks. Scan the QR code on my neck. Since 2050, the government had nationalized Alipay and WeChat, and they were maintained daily, coupled with the entire country's implementation of large-scale construction. Above ground, utility poles were rarely seen. Old things like signal towers in the mountains had all disappeared. Instead, there was an underground power grid across the country, along with small signal transmitters placed parallel to the power grid. This was also why, despite the apocalyptic blizzard, the government hadn't conducted relief efforts, yet people still had electricity and internet. To the point that Shen Heng had experienced a power outage in his previous life. That was because Li Fei, the person Feng Lu relied on, after awakening his ability, fought with another mutant for dominance over the community. The opponent was an electric-type mutant. It was quite bizarre. Beaten to a pulp by Li Fei, on the verge of death, he punched and blew up the underground power line, then grabbed the wire with one hand, closing his eyes to enjoy the thrill of the high-voltage current. Exactly like someone recharging. A few seconds later, that guy recovered his stamina. But he didn't dare to stop and quietly fled. Li Fei pursued him relentlessly, but was completely helpless against this electric-type mutant. Whenever he ran out of stamina, he would stop, punch and blow up the underground power line again, then tear the wire to recharge himself. He kept recharging and fleeing like this, until Li Fei finally had to give up the pursuit. Now, the apocalypse had descended for less than a week. With only a few mutants like Shen Heng, there was naturally no need to worry about the power grid. Many wealthy people had even bought microwaves, kerosene stoves, gas ovens, and mini hot pots from Guo Yuping to boil water and eat instant noodles. 200 blocks. The young man was stunned for a moment. He originally thought it would be 20,000 blocks, but unexpectedly, Gui Yuping asked for 200. The crowd instantly went into an uproar. Quiet, Gui Yuping said coldly. This is our boss remembering everyone. You don't have that much money, and the boss is compassionate, hoping everyone can survive, so he deliberately ordered a discount. But what about you? Your actions just now were truly shameless to the extreme. Many people simultaneously showed looks of shame. Furthermore, our transactions are all voluntary. Whoever doesn't want to buy can leave now. We won't force you. Gui Yuping's face was as cold as frost. Yesterday, you scrambled to buy goods. The boss sympathized with you because it was your first offense and agreed to leave you a way out. Yet today, you guys again. There's a saying, 3 strikes and you're out. If you, we guarantee there won't be a next time. The young man standing at the front hurriedly spoke up. If a packet of instant noodles is only 100 blocks now, then can I buy a bit more? Of course you can, Gui Yuping nodded. The young man was overjoyed. Give me 10 packets. No, give me a whole box of noodles. Yes, and give me 20 smoked sausages, a box of mineral water, and eggs too. Instant noodles for 10,000 blocks, instantly turning into 100 blocks. He just felt like he had scored a massive bargain. He originally thought 20,000 blocks could only buy 1 packet of noodles and 1 bottle of water, but unexpectedly, he could buy so much now. What a profit! He happily took the 2 large boxes, generously paid the money, then turned around and eagerly left. The underground tunnel was originally very long, yet now, carrying the heavy supplies, he didn't feel tired at all. The crowd stared, dumbfounded. It wasn't until they saw the young man leave with the supplies that they instantly boiled over. 100 blocks. Yesterday, they wanted 10,000 blocks. The big boss of Hushuan Fatsai was truly too kind-hearted. In an instant, everyone squeezed toward this side. Gui Yuping hurriedly led a few lackeys to maintain order and conduct transactions. Boss, the supplies in the basement of Villa number 3 have all been sold out. Right at noon, Gui Yuping and the others slumped down exhaustedly next to the pickup truck. Rin Jie stood aside, respectfully sending a message to Shun Hong. All supplies have been sold for 33.17 million. The only problem is that the supply storage location has been exposed. He briefly summarized the whole story, then quietly stepped aside to wait for Shun Heng's reply. A moment later, his phone vibrated slightly. Rin Jie hurriedly took it out and saw he had received Shun Heng's instructions. After skimming through it, he turned to Gui Yuping and said, Yuping, just transfer the money to the boss. The boss said to step up the purchase of green plants. Also, lead the brothers to move the green plants from Zhao Weilong's house to Villa number 3 first. Tonight, bring the brothers here to gather. The specific time will be announced by the boss later. Understood. Gui Yuping stood up straight, nodding repeatedly, then turned and waved to the brothers behind him. Over 10 brothers all squeezed into the truck bed. Gui Yuping drove to the underground entrance of Building 16, then enthusiastically went upstairs to continue moving. Rin Jie went to the door of Villa number 4, standing guard vigilantly. The boss treated him with such deep affection and righteousness. When he wasn't here, he had to hold his position and protect the boss ladies in the villa well. On the other side, Shun Heng and Old Qin stood at the main entrance of the charter bank, checking the transfer message they received, then stuffed the phone into their pockets. The whole world had turned into a vast expanse of white. The 50-story office building of the charter bank was covered in 2 stories of snow, completely obscuring the bank's main sign. But this building, with its unique design, was still very easy to recognize. Normally, the cash reserves in a bank's vault wouldn't exceed 5 million. But the charter bank had moved its headquarters to Jiangxing a few years ago. It was certain that the vault of the charter bank's headquarters was definitely a massive one. In other words, the cash inventory was 50 million or more. Shun Heng looked around, ensuring there was no one nearby, then went with Old Qin to a blind spot of the surveillance cameras. The two held iron shovels and began digging deep down. After digging a hole deep enough for one person, Shun Heng took out the snow-clearing robot, pointed it straight at the bank's main entrance, and pressed the start button. Then he quickly retreated from the snow hole. Waiting for 2 minutes, Shun Heng and Old Qin entered again. This time, beneath the snow, There was a path wide enough for one person, leading straight ahead. Not long after, they saw the snow-clearing robot at the bank's main entrance, facing the revolving door and frantically swinging its arms left and right. Sure enough, it's a stupid model. Shin Heng's mouth twitched. There was no more accumulated snow in front of the robot, but this guy was still like a model worker, vigorously maintaining its shoveling posture. He put the robot away, tossing it into his consciousness space, then looked at Old Sheen. Old Sheen nodded silently, looked at the thick glass, grunted, and suddenly threw a punch. The large glass door shattered into pieces upon impact, shards scattering all over the floor. Shin Heng and Old Sheen stepped inside. There was not a single soul inside the bank, only the sound of their footsteps echoing in the empty hall. You start searching from the second floor up, especially the management offices. Smash them all for me, Shin Heng instructed. If there are survivors, they must all be eliminated, understand? Rest assured, boss. Old Sheen nodded with a cold face. He turned and went up to the second floor. Shin Heng also started from the main hall, heading toward the back corridor. Normally, a bank's vault is located in the basement. Moreover, with the apocalypse descending, everyone was fending for themselves. People would only think of going to supermarkets to loot supplies. Absolutely no one would think of going to a bank. What was there to take in a bank? Furthermore, with the vault's thick walls and doors, human strength simply couldn't open it. Who would come here? This place was useless to others, but to Shin Heng, it was the best way to upgrade his vending machine. Although after the apocalypse, even if the bank was robbed, I'm afraid no one would investigate. But to ensure safety, Shin Heng still maintained his caution. The VIP customer management area. Shin Heng followed the corridor here, pushing open each door, only to find the rooms empty, with absolutely no sign of anyone. Walking a lap around the first floor, Shin Heng frowned slightly. Is there really no one? He felt a bit regretful. If he had known, he should have brought Hua Miao along. With Hua Miao's perception ability, she could easily detect people within a 100-meter radius. But right now, he could only slowly search room by room. Is anyone there? Shin Heng suddenly had an idea. He bought a megaphone from the vending machine, held it, and shouted around. We are the Jiangxing rescue team. Is anyone still here? Old Sheen, who had just gone up to the second floor, heard Shin Heng's voice and was startled. But then he understood the boss's intention, turned around, and ran downstairs. Boss, give me one. Old Sheen laughed heartily. Shin Heng handed the megaphone to Old Sheen. Use this, shout while searching, the efficiency will be a bit higher. Although after becoming a mutant, his ability to perceive surrounding movements had become much sharper, if someone played dead and lay motionless, it would still be very difficult to distinguish. However, wait until his mutant ability leveled up once more, then it would be relatively easy to detect. Shin Heng was completely unaware that not far from him, in a half-closed office, a middle-aged woman was shivering, almost freezing to death. In front of her were 2 boxes of food that were already quite depleted. However, there was still some spicy instant noodles, along with boneless chicken feet and various snacks like smoked pork trotters, and even drinks. It was just that right now, all these things were frozen solid. Every time she wanted to eat, she had to use her saliva to slowly thaw them. When has this old lady ever had to suffer like this? It was truly unbearable. Her name was Chun Guiping, a mid-level executive at the Charter Bank. On the day of the torrential rain, she was on duty at the bank reconciling accounts, and ended up being trapped by the rain. Later, when it snowed, she didn't think much of it. After all, she was a workaholic. As a mid-level executive of the bank, she had her own private lounge at the headquarters. In the lounge, she had placed quite a few clothes and bedding, along with snacks. She usually bought. Thanks to this food and drink, she survived. There were a few colleagues upstairs, but 2 days ago they came down looking for her, and she selfishly refused to open the door. Those people eventually cursed and left. Just now, hearing the loud sound of breaking glass from the lobby, Chen Guiping was startled. But then she realized. The lobby glass door had been opened by someone. Was it those colleagues wanting to escape, or had someone come in? She waited a moment, then quietly pulled the room door slightly open, looking out through the crack. Seeing Shin Heng and Old Sheen, she carefully stayed hidden. These two looked murderous, not like good people at all. And then, The conversation between Shun Hung and Old Chin made her feel like she had fallen into an ice cellar. Kill them all. She even thought she had misheard. Chen Guiping didn't dare to move even a bit, standing behind the door listening to the movements outside, her whole body like an ice statue. And next, she heard Shin Hang's solitary footsteps approaching. Her heart leaped to her throat with the approaching footsteps. But a moment later, she heard Shin Hang's voice coming from the megaphone. Rescue team. Chen Guiping breathed a sigh of relief. It seemed she had misheard earlier. She was just about to step out when she suddenly heard a few voices echoing from upstairs. Yes, there's someone. A man spoke weakly. We are employees of the Charter Bank. Are you here to save us? That's right. Old Chin, standing next to Shun Hong, smiled and raised the megaphone, looking at the person poking his head out from upstairs. How many of you are left? There are 5 of us left. The pale-faced man, wrapped tightly in a blanket, shivered as he spoke. The others are all dead. That's right, there's also Chun. He wanted to say more, but was pulled back by a colleague beside him. The man stared blankly at his colleague. That bitch Chen Guiping is probably dead by now, why bother? She wouldn't even open the door for us before. It's been 2 days without any movement. I bet she died in her lounge, the colleague whispered. She's still on the first floor. If she heard this, she would definitely come out immediately. Why care if she lives or dies? The man felt it made a lot of sense. What if Chen Guiping wasn't dead yet? Maybe she was still clinging to life in the lounge, lacking the strength to even speak. Whatever happened to her, what did it have to do with them? A cold glint flashed in the man's eyes. Then he poked his head out and looked at Old Chin. You said, you're the rescue team. Do you have any proof? What proof do you need to be rescued? Old Chin looked quite helpless. The people in our rescue team are all scattered. The others took snowmobiles to other places. Right? You guys must be starving, right? Want to eat this? He pulled 2 packets of instant noodles from his pocket and waved them toward the upper floor. I'll eat. The eyes of the people upstairs instantly lit up, and they hurriedly ran downstairs. Finally, the government had come to save them. These people had been starving for days. Their stomachs were rumbling with hunger. Old Chin wasn't in a hurry, standing still in place. The young man who had just spoken to Old Chin was the first to rush over. Give it to me. Give me the instant noodles. Don't rush. There are plenty of instant noodles. Shin Hung, like performing a magic trick, suddenly had a few more packets in his hand, his face looking kind. How many of you are there? If we can confirm, we won't have to search floor by floor. There are only 5 of us working overtime. Our bank gets off work early. As soon as it started raining, everyone had already left. Only the few of us hadn't finished our work and stayed for some overtime, which is why we got trapped at the bank by the heavy rain. The young man directly tore open a packet of instant noodles, took a few bites, and mumbled. There was also a vault security guard downstairs, but he died yesterday. This old lady. In the room, Chen Guiping frowned angrily. Damn it, these ungrateful bastards. Knowing full well I'm still alive, yet deliberately not mentioning me. Hearing the sound of them munching on the instant noodles outside, Chen Guiping finally felt relieved. She licked her dry lips and was just about to step out when she suddenly heard a few crisp sounds of bones breaking from outside. Chen Guiping froze, peeking outside, and the scene in the corridor almost made her scream out loud. The 5 colleagues who were gnawing on instant noodles had all fallen to the ground at this moment. Noodle crumbs were scattered all over the floor. The heads of these people were all twisted, some even deeply caved in. Opposite them, Old Chin coldly withdrew his hand, turned around, and respectfully said to Shin Hong, Boss, now I'm sure no one else could have survived. Shin Hong nodded slightly. After destroying the management offices, come down to the underground vault and regroup with me. Old Chin bowed slightly, then quickly went upstairs. In the lounge, Chen Guiping's eyes widened, her whole body trembling as she looked at the scene outside the door. After seeing the state of the 5 people, she almost gagged. All 5 of them had their brains leaking out, completely dead. And the cause of their death was because it was too fast, and they were completely defenseless against Old Chin. They were still in the state of devouring the instant noodles like hungry wolves. Chen Guiping desperately covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face in terror. She knew that she absolutely must not make any sound. Once she made a sound, after being discovered, she would also die. Shin Hung and Old Chin obviously didn't expect that right near them, there was still a survivor. And earlier, those 5 overtime working corporate slaves, out of resentment toward Chun Guiping for not opening the door or sharing food and drinks with them, deliberately didn't mention her. But this inadvertently protected Chun Guiping. Chun Guiping remained motionless. Even as tears flowed, she didn't dare to wipe them, terrified of making even the slightest noise that the 2 murderous gods outside might hear. However, very quickly, the footsteps of Shin Hung and Old Chin moved away. It sounded like one person was heading down to the basement, and the other was going upstairs. Chun Guiping breathed a sigh of relief, leaning weakly against the wall, her legs turning to jelly as she slumped to the floor. What should she do? The first thing she thought of was to report the secret, to inform the bank manager. Chun Guiping suddenly remembered something and hurriedly switched her phone to silent mode. If someone suddenly contacted her, she would be doomed. Her heart was pounding. Even though she had switched it to silent, she still didn't feel at ease. After thinking for a moment, she simply turned off her phone to ensure absolute safety. She absolutely must not be careless. What's the use of reporting the secret? Telling the bank manager that someone came to rob the bank and even killed people? Even if she wanted to report it, she had to survive and escape first. If she died, what use would it be to report this? She didn't even dare to take a picture, afraid that something might go wrong with her phone. What if it made a sound while taking a picture? After turning off her phone, Chun Guiping covered her head, trying her best to stay calm. But her trembling body still revealed the fear in her heart. How to get out? How to get out? Right now, the 2 people outside were no longer on the first floor, but she didn't have the courage. Going down to the basement was fine, but if the person upstairs came down to check, just a glance across the lobby, and she would be completely exposed. She narrowed her eyes. Observing her surroundings, she suddenly made a decision. Then she took off her high heels and quietly walked out barefoot. The floor was freezing cold, but at this moment, Chun Guiping completely ignored the cold, making her way straight through the corridor. She went to the main lobby area, found a corner in the transaction counter area, and crawled straight under a desk. The business transaction desks in this main lobby were generally arranged in a semicircle. From her position, the person upstairs simply couldn't see her, and the one going down to the basement wouldn't come toward her either. The most dangerous place is the safest place. She curled up under the desk, motionless. After waiting for a while, a few explosions came from upstairs. Chun Guiping trembled slightly, but she squeezed her eyes shut, quietly reassuring herself. It has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me. Wait until they leave, then I can go home. Very quickly, another loud explosion came from upstairs, but this time Chun Guiping was like an old monk in meditation, showing no reaction. Not long after, the sound of footsteps came down from upstairs, heading straight to the basement via the stairs. Chun Guiping still didn't dare to move recklessly. Once she tried to run, she couldn't let those 2 see her. What if those 2 suddenly came to the first floor? What would she do then? The safest and most secure method was to wait for them to leave before she left. Besides, the young man had already checked the first floor earlier, so he wouldn't come back to check the main lobby again, right? This is called reverse thinking. In a dangerous situation, her mind was actually getting clearer and clearer. I must survive and look for the right opportunity to escape. Boss, all the management offices have been completely destroyed. Old Chin stood in the basement tunnel, reporting to Shin Hung. Going down the stairs was a spacious tunnel, followed by an open area like a plaza. And after that was a thick alloy steel door, embedded in an 80-centimeter thick concrete wall. On the wall, you couldn't even see any keyholes. There was only a password input device, an iris recognition scanner, and a small switch on the side. With ordinary methods, it was basically impossible to get in. Behind this large door, naturally, was the bank's vault. Shin Hung didn't pay attention to the switch, quietly holding the last stack of explosives in his hand and placing it at the base of the vault wall. Opening this vault could at least level up his vending machine once more. Currently, to upgrade the vending machine, it required nearly 81.92 million experience points. The required experience was becoming increasingly astronomical. Besides selling supplies on a large scale, robbing a bank was the fastest way. It wasn't that Shin Hung hadn't thought about trying to make a money printer. He was afraid that if he tried, he would die. What if the fake money could be recognized by the vending machine? At that time, charging himself with the crime of using Helm money and sending himself straight to the underworld to report, he wouldn't even have a place to cry foul. Now, in front of this large door, a pile of explosives as tall as a person had been stacked. No matter how sturdy this large door was, it wouldn't be enough to withstand the explosion. Go outside first. Shun Hung waved his hand, and the two walked out of the basement. Under the desk, Chun Guoping's breathing also became much slower and lighter. Sure enough, relying on her own speed. If she wanted to run, she would probably be discovered by them before even getting out the door. Step back a bit. Shun Hung took Old Chin and retreated to the main entrance, only then feeling at ease. Although this was the headquarters of the bank, and the vault was located deep underground, the surrounding walls would also be extremely thick, armed to the teeth to be bulletproof and riot-proof. But Shun Hung had great confidence in the explosives provided by the system. What are they trying to do? Chun Guoping heard Shun Heng's words and retreated in confusion. However, just a second later, she heard a violent, deep explosion from underground. Boom! The earth-shattering explosion almost pierced her eardrums. The entire ground shook violently. She was terrified out of her wits. Her hands tightly gripped the edges of the desk, trying her best to keep herself steady. Her face was pale, her eyes wide open. These two were truly demons, actually bringing explosives to blow up the bank's vault. Where were the government people? How could they have explosives? At the same time, the alarms of the entire bank blared fiercely. The shaking quickly ended. That should do it. Shin Heng's satisfied voice came through. It had to be said, the charter bank was quite generous with its spending. Only the wall where the explosives were stacked was blown open, creating a hole just big enough for one person to pass through. Countless broken bricks and steel blocks were scattered across the open area, dust flying everywhere. Shin Hung smiled, stepping into a bank vault for the first time in his life. But as soon as he stepped in, he held his breath. On the floor of the entire vault, there were countless glass cages. On each glass cage, a serial number was pasted. Inside the glass cages, massive amounts of paper money and shiny gold bars were piled up like mountains. On the walls all around, countless safes were embedded, neatly arranged. Not to mention him. Even Old Chin was completely stunned. We're rich. Shin Hung had thought that this bank might contain a large amount of cash, perhaps even exceeding 100 million. A billion. After all, this wasn't just an ordinary branch, but the headquarters of the charter bank established in this country. And naturally, underground in a headquarters of this caliber, there must be a solid precious metal vault, a massive vault. However, what he didn't expect was that the harvest this time was unbelievably huge. There really was this much money. At this moment, the piercing alarm sirens, originally terrifying and annoying, suddenly became strangely pleasant to hear. It even made Shin Hung feel. This was the background music, the BGM celebrating his own newfound wealth. Quick, break these crystal cages open. Shin Hung, with eyes red from excitement, stepped forward and threw a powerful punch, smashing the crystal cage blocking his view. He turned his head and shouted loudly at Old Chin. Old Chin, who had been silent all along, quickly stepped forward and decisively delivered a punch, smashing the crystal cage next to him. He swiftly moved the massive stacks of cash toward Shin Hung. The boss's strength isn't small either. Compared to me, he's not much inferior. Old Chin thought inwardly, but his hands didn't stop, continuously piling up stacks of paper money and shiny gold bars. All of it was brought to Shin Heng. After smashing a crystal cage, with just a wave of his hand, all the paper money and gold bars underneath vanished without a trace. These assets, after being absorbed into his consciousness space, they would automatically disappear from reality and be directly transferred into the vending machine, turning into account balances that continuously updated. By the time Shin Hung finished collecting the assets in his area, he turned around and saw that Old Chin still had a large amount of paper money and gold bars piled up beside him. Without hesitation, Shin Hung hurriedly ran back and quickly absorbed all of that massive wealth. After a sweeping raid, the spacious vault became empty, leaving only a pile of shattered crystal scattered on the floor, along with the safes neatly and squarely arranged on the 4 surrounding walls. Shin Hung immediately cast a quick glance. at the account balance display of the vending machine appearing before him. Account balance: 563,401,463.20 yuan. Over 560 million yuan. This number made Shun Hung take a deep breath. By rough estimation, the cash found here alone amounted to nearly 200 million. It was absurd, but the truly valuable items were those gold bars. In the current society, the price of gold per unit of weight had climbed to 500. Assuming the currency unit was gold, on the floor, the piled-up gold bars weighed 600 to 700 caddies, equivalent to hundreds of kilograms. After Shin Hung absorbed them into his consciousness space, these gold bars also automatically converted into account balance in the vending machine. Shin Hung did a quick mental calculation and noticed that the vending machine's purchase price seemed slightly lower than the market price. However, this didn't matter. After all of this was a windfall, free money that he got without any effort. He turned around and began to evaluate the rows of safes arranged in straight lines on the surrounding walls. Everyone knows that a bank is not only a place to store currency, but also provides safe deposit box services for customers' valuables. Of course, ordinary people usually don't have this need, so they wouldn't use it. In a bank, the valuable items deposited here, I'm afraid only the wealthy and powerful in Jiangcheng would have the qualifications and needs. These safes were arranged neatly, uniformly, and tightly, securely locked. Their exterior was a thick, heavy black, almost completely blending in with the wall. There was only a small, compact handle on each door. Above the right side of the handle, individual labels were affixed. On those labels, some had personal names, while others had the names of large companies. I wonder what's inside these, Shin Hung signaled with his eyes to Old Qin. Old Qin gently stepped forward, approaching a safe. On the label of this safe, the 3 characters, Li Zhongjun, were written. Old Qin reached out and grabbed the handle, suddenly exerting force. The handle actually snapped right off. Old Qin's expression was a bit awkward. Shin Hung scratched his head. He didn't have a better way either. To be honest, inside these safes, there must be quite a few valuable items, perhaps even rivaling the value of the cash vault in the bank lobby. But unfortunately, they couldn't be opened so easily. It was still time for the master key to take action. Earlier, when blowing up the wall surrounding the vault, it wasn't that Shun Hung didn't want to use the master key, but rather that at the main entrance of this bank vault, there was absolutely nowhere to insert a key. It was just an extremely complex password lock system combined with iris recognition. Once entered incorrectly 3 consecutive times, and the system detected external personnel without access rights, it would automatically call the police and completely freeze the unlocking function. Only when higher-level authority intervened could it be opened again. Now, most places had switched to using modern password locks, but these safes rarely used pure key locks. This was very convenient for Shin Hung. He stepped forward, held the master key, inserted it into the lock, and then gently turned it. Click! A crisp clicking sound came from the lock, signaling a successful unlock. Immediately after, the cabinet door opened. Shin Hung and Old Qin curiously looked inside. But next, both of their faces showed disappointment. It was another stack of real estate certificates. Real estate certificates, if placed before the apocalypse, would certainly be extremely valuable. But now, damn it, the apocalypse has arrived, and humanity's population will rapidly decline. What use are these real estate certificates? They are just a pile of thick, useless stiff paper. Shin Hung didn't even bother to look closely. Then he prepared to open the second safe. On the first floor, in the lobby, hearing the alarm sirens echoing everywhere, Chun Guiping felt a bit more relieved in her heart. Normally, this piercing alarm siren only annoyed her, but now, it brought her a significant sense of security. She tried to move bit by bit toward the basement. Every time she moved past a transaction counter, she had to duck down first, then quietly listen to the movements around her. It wasn't until she had moved past a dozen such transaction counters that she heard the sound of breaking glass coming from the basement. These 2 smashed the crystal cages. Damn it, that's high-grade bulletproof glass. Chen Guiping trembled violently with fear. However, what made her even more joyful was the rising sense of security. As a mid-level executive, and also in charge of important positions related to the core secrets of the bank vault, Chen Guiping also knew quite well about some of the secrets of this place. The vault contained hundreds of millions in cash and gold bars. Even if those two only smashed the glass, collecting it all would take a certain amount of time. That time was completely enough for her to escape. Every moment she lingered here, she felt terrified. Even though the outside was covered in thick snow, she didn't want to stay here for another second. Now was the best time to escape. She tiptoed up, quickly heading toward the shattered large door of the transaction hall. The spacious and grand lobby, which used to make her proud, now made her almost hate it to death. Why build such a big lobby? She thought inwardly. Very quickly, she reached the shattered large door. The floor was littered with sharp, crystal shards. But even so, she didn't hesitate at all, directly walking barefoot, stepping on them, preparing to crawl out. I must escape. I survived. She was so excited that tears streamed down her face. As a result, just as half of her body crawled out of the large door, an icy voice came from behind her. There's still a survivor? Chen Guoping's body trembled violently. Her whole person seemed like an ice statue, standing frozen in place. After a few seconds of terror, she fearfully turned her head, suddenly discovering that one of the two intruders, the middle-aged man, was currently standing next to the stairs leading to the basement, looking at her with a teasing expression. Run! Chen Guoping didn't think twice. She hurriedly crawled out and sprinted to escape. Wanna run? The corner of old Qin's mouth twitched into a sneer. His feet suddenly exerted force, his body turning into a dazzling blur, quickly gliding to Chen Guoping's side. Although his speed couldn't compare to Ren Jie's, chasing down an ordinary person running barefoot was all too easy. Chen Guoping had just run a few steps out onto the snowy road when the figure behind her flew over, quickly grabbing her neck. Don't kill me. Please don't kill me. Chen Guoping pleaded continuously with a terrified face. If I hadn't needed to go to the bathroom, I probably wouldn't have found you. Old Qin smiled. You really are good at hiding. Your bank, your colleagues. Didn't you say there were only 5 people? Why is there another one? TSK. Your bank is full of tricks, always hiding something. Just now, down in the basement, right as Shun Hung was about to open the second safe, Lao Qin suddenly felt the urge to pee. He quickly asked Shun Hung for permission. Then he went upstairs to relieve himself. After all, the air in the vault was stuffy, and the 4 walls were lined with safes that needed to be opened. Although the boss had a master key, it would still take some time. He figured that if he relieved himself in a corner, the air would definitely be tainted with the unpleasant smell of urine. Lao Qin was afraid this would affect the boss's mood, so he decided to go upstairs. As it turned out, the moment he got up there, he spotted Chen Guoping sneaking around the entrance, a panicked look on her face. Seeing the woman's flustered and confused expression, Lao Qin immediately concluded that she must be another survivor hiding in the bank. The boss had given his orders. All survivors in the bank must be killed. Leave no one alive. Thank you for listening to the audio story on my channel. This is a product of xalosach.com. Thank you for joining us. We wish you moments of complete and meaningful storytelling. Don't kill me. Please. Chen Guoping couldn't care about anything else. The moment Lao Qin caught her, she collapsed to the ground, begging repeatedly. Don't kill you? It seems you've already seen the bodies of your colleagues. Lao Qin said with a cold laugh. I can help you open the underground vault. I can help you open it. Just don't kill me. I beg you. Chen Guoping's lips trembled uncontrollably. Huh. Lao Qin suddenly frowned and looked down. It turned out the woman had been so scared she'd peed her pants. No wonder. I was searching everywhere, thinking I was the one who couldn't hold it in. The smell of piss. It made me think I'd lost control of my own bladder. Damn it. You scared me. Enraged, Lao Qin slapped Chen Guoping across the face. Terrified, Chen Guoping burst into loud sobs. Shut up, Lao Qin roared. You dare scream again, and I'll kill you right now. Chen Guoping's cries died instantly. Her head hung low as she looked at Lao Qin in terror. Which bank are you from? Lao Qin asked. Answer honestly, or you're dead. I'm the head of the bank's wealth management department. My name is Chen Guoping. Oh, so you're a high-level manager. Lao Qin raised an eyebrow, looking at Chen Guoping's face, which was a mess of tears and snot. He was about to kill her, but on second thought, he held back. He simply hoisted her up. Let's go down to the basement. Huh. Shun Hung turned his head to glance at Lao Qin, ready to continue opening the lock, but he was stunned to see Chen Guiping next to him. Didn't Lao Qin go to take a leak? Why did he bring a woman back down with him? Could it be that he's into this type of woman? Shin Hung couldn't help but size up Chen Guiping a few more times. To think that after being reborn, Lao Qin's tastes had changed too. This middle-aged woman, in her 30s or 40s, might have a certain mature charm, but compared to Fu Xiaozhu, she was leagues behind. Boss. This is the head of the bank's wealth management department. When I went upstairs just now, I found her sneaking around, trying to escape the bank. I didn't find her during the search earlier. It was my failure. Lao Qin bowed his head, admitting his mistake. He was also very confused. He had clearly searched every single room, and it had taken quite a while. Where did this woman come from? How could an ordinary person possibly escape my search? This is just too much. What he didn't realize was that he had only searched the areas from the second floor and up. Chen Guiping had been hiding in the break room on the first floor. It would have been strange if he had found her. The boss himself had searched the first floor. He must have forgotten. You've already opened the safes? Before Shin Hung could ask, Chen Guiping, her face full of terror, asked him first. Was it hard? Shin Hung chuckled lightly. Chen Guiping fell silent, her eyes darting around the room. The horror in her eyes intensified. She could understand the shattered glass on the floor. If these two could smash the bank's massive glass doors and even blast through the vault's walls, then of course they could open the glass cages holding cash and gold. But the problem was, where was the money? Where was the gold? Not even a feather was left behind. Where did it all go? Nearly 200 million in cash, even if loaded onto trucks, would require several vehicles. And there were hundreds of heavy gold bars. All of it had vanished. But then, seeing Shun Hung easily open a safe with a key, she immediately fell silent. More useless junk. Shin Hung glanced inside the safe and shook his head. This safe also contained land deeds. Are all rich people this boring? Land deeds and real estate certificates. Can't you just keep them at home? Do you really have to store them in a bank safe deposit box? An entire wall had a total of 10 rows of safes, with 8 in each row. After opening all 80, Shun Hung checked the valuable items piled at his feet. A few gold bars, diamonds, and jewels. Jade blocks, along with some cash and famous watches. As for things like real estate certificates, stocks, and government bonds, Shin Hung didn't even bother taking them. He even found a famous collector's safe deposit box containing a painting by Tang Yin. But in this apocalypse, this thing was too hard to even use as toilet paper. It was basically worthless. The vending machine wouldn't accept it either. There were also a few safes containing several optical discs. Who knows if they held blackmail material from some illicit dealings. Shin Hung found them interesting enough to keep. The strangest thing was that one safe deposit box contained a will. My God, there was nothing else. Just a single piece of paper. The will belonged to a guy named Qian Yuqing. Shin Hung had heard his name before. He was the boss of an entertainment company in Jiangqing. After divorcing his wife, he married a younger woman, but he had scandals with quite a few female celebrities. It was said he even had several illegitimate children. In times of peace and prosperity, this will of Qian Yuqing's would probably have been fought over by many people, especially the mistresses who had borne him children. They would be desperate to see its contents. If their child's share was too small, they could pressure Qian Yuqing to amend the will. But now, Shun Hung shook his head. This thing was, at best, just a piece of gossip. Chen Guiping's face was drained of all color. She stared blankly as Shun Hung continued to open the safes. These were special safes custom-made for the bank. They had even hired a top-tier locksmith to design the locks. They could only be opened with a special key. But unexpectedly, Shin Hung, with just one key, had managed to open all 80 safes. Lao Qin, you open all the safes on this side. Shin Hung tossed the master key to Lao Qin. He was a little tired. This one wall of safes hadn't yielded much of value, maybe 40 or 50 million in total. Although that was a lot, it was far less than what Shun Hung had expected. He had thought the items in these safe deposit boxes would be comparable in value to the cash and gold in the bank's main vault. This also meant that if he opened the remaining 3 walls of safes, he would get a total of about 150 million. The wall Shin Hung had blown up was where the main vault door was located. There were no safes on the other side of that door. With this key, He had opened all the safes on the left wall. Only the right and opposite walls remained. Yes. Lao Qin took the key and headed towards the right wall. Chen Guiping remained silent, her lips pressed tightly together as she watched Lao Qin's movements, her heart clearly in turmoil. Shen Heng sat down. He looked at the items from the safes piled at his feet and calculated mentally. The vending machine was currently at level 13, and his account balance was 560 million. Adding the things on the ground, he'd have 600 million. 600 million. That's enough to upgrade to level 16. A 3-level jump. This was truly a qualitative leap. However, he was also well aware that he had obtained such a rich haul because Jiangcheng was the headquarters of Marital Bank, so its underground vault naturally stored a large amount of cash and gold. As for other banks, they probably had 30 to 50 million at most. Based on the scale of Jiangcheng, there might be 2 or 3 other banks with similar vaults. But besides those, the remaining small savings funds probably didn't even have 5 million. He feared that robbing all the remaining banks wouldn't even be enough to upgrade the vending machine to level 17. Going from level 16 to 17 required over 650 million experience points. This was just too difficult. Although he was mentally prepared and knew that leveling up would get harder later on, Shen Heng couldn't help but sigh at the enormous figure. The hall fell into silence. Shen Heng closed his eyes and entered his consciousness space. He went on a crazy shopping spree in the vending machine. Besides a large quantity of supplies, he also bought various weapons, even high-tech ones like radar dogs. After upgrading the vending machine to level 15, his account balance was still over 300 million, but he didn't know what else to buy. After browsing aimlessly in the vending machine for a while, his eyes locked onto one item. Intelligent architectural robot. Price, 50 million. Note, a little architectural genius with extremely high artificial intelligence. Humanity's powerful assistant. Can efficiently and automatically design, plan, and decorate. Works tirelessly 24/7 on all kinds of renovation jobs. The key point is, it can skillfully use various high-tech materials provided by the system, helping you fix all the flaws and bugs in your home, building you a warm, perfect, and invincible house. This is some good stuff. Shen Heng's eyes lit up. Although he only planned to stay in the townhouse for a short time and never intended to stay there forever, that villa did look a bit shabby compared to his expectations. Even if he left, he still had to worry about the women in his house. With the intelligent architectural robot, he believed he could quickly build himself a steel fortress. Moreover, it was certified by the system as intelligent, much stronger than that stupid snow-clearing robot. Without a moment's hesitation, he immediately bought the architectural robot from the vending machine. A small, brown dwarf popped out. It looked quite similar to the dwarves from World of Warcraft. It even had a very long beard and rough hands. This thing is a robot. Shen Heng stared, wide-eyed. However, the little dwarf didn't move at all, just like a real doll. Shen Heng paid it no more mind and continued to browse the vending machine. The vending machine was now at level 15. Many more high-tech building materials were available for purchase, especially the high-strength wall paint and super-performance bulletproof rubber tiles. The prices were getting more and more expensive. Shen Heng didn't feel the pinch at all. He went on a crazy shopping spree. After buying a considerable amount of weapons and equipment, Shen Heng finally upgraded the vending machine to level 16, and his account balance was now nearly depleted. He never thought he'd see the day he'd have to worry about spending money. Shen Heng let out a soft sigh. Then, he opened his personal attributes and enhanced the corresponding stats all over his body. After spending several $1,000,000, Shen Heng felt a sharp pain throughout his body, but it was followed by an even greater sense of fulfillment. He bought 2 anomaly fruits. He temporarily stored them in his consciousness space. Opening his eyes, he glanced at Chen Guiping, who was curled up nearby, still silent. This woman had been looking like she wanted to say something, but was holding back. Now, as she watched Lao Qin open the safes one by one on the opposite wall, her expression grew even more conflicted. Could there be some other secret in these safes? Shen Heng frowned, stood up, and walked towards Lao Qin. Lao Qin, you go rest for a bit. I'll do it myself. He wanted to see for himself what Chen Guiping was trying to hide. Lao Qin didn't know what the future world would be like. To be honest, Shen Heng wasn't entirely sure either. But he had been reborn, possessing 3 months of apocalyptic experience. What if he had missed something? Ah, yes. Lao Qin was a bit surprised, but he obediently handed over the key and stepped aside. Lao Qin had already opened more than 60 of them. Shen Heng didn't continue opening new ones, but instead checked the safes Lao Qin had already opened, one by one. But in these safes, apart from some ordinary items, there was nothing special. There was indeed a good amount of cash and gold bars stored away, along with some jewels and ornaments. Their total value was quite a bit higher than the items Shen Heng had just opened on the other wall of safes. There were still about 10 safes left unopened. The value of what had been opened already amounted to 70 or 80 million. He opened a safe labeled Yoshikawa Trust. Shen Heng didn't check the items inside. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, observing Chen Guoping's expression. Chen Guoping frowned, her face filled with anxiety. What are you waiting for? Shen Heng suddenly spoke. He quickly glanced at the items in the safe. It was more gold bars, but they seemed more valuable. There were enough to hold 22,000-gram gold bars. Not bad. This was worth up to 60 million. The items in this one safe surpassed the entire wall of safes he had opened earlier. Chen Guoping didn't even spare it a glance. Clearly, this wasn't what she was worried about. Shen Heng decided to ask directly. Are you hiding something from me? Do you want to be honest? Ah. Chen Guoping seemed to jump in fright, her face turning even uglier. However, even if you don't talk, I'm going to open all of these safes anyway. When that time comes, whatever secret you're hiding, I'll find it out. Shen Heng shook his head and chuckled. I'm giving you a chance to speak. If you're willing to talk, then say it. If you don't want to, haha, you saw how your colleagues died, didn't you? Chen Guoping's face turned pale, her lips trembling violently. My patience is limited. After a few seconds of silence, Shen Heng saw that Chen Guoping still wouldn't speak. He shook his head slightly. In that case, I won't waste any more time on you. Lao Qin. Yes. Lao Qin understood Shen Heng's meaning. He smirked at Chen Guoping, then grabbed her by the hair and dragged her towards the stairwell. Don't pollute the boss's eyes. You're better off with your colleagues. Hearing Lao Qin's cold voice, Chen Guoping screamed in terror. Don't kill me. I'll talk. Lao Qin stopped, his grip loosening slightly. You can talk. If I talk, you won't kill me, right? Can you let me go? Chen Guoping's face was full of pleading. Are you trying to bargain with my boss? Lao Qin glared. All right. Shen Heng gestured to Lao Qin, then looked at Chen Guoping and said with a smile, if I find it valuable, of course I won't kill you. I guarantee it. I guarantee it's valuable. Chen Guoping forced a smile. Besides, even if you opened all the safes, you wouldn't find it. Then tell me, Shen Heng said, feigning curiosity. Are you sure you're a man of your word? Chen Guoping asked again, a little uneasy. Lao Qin was getting impatient, but Shen Heng signaled him with his eyes, then nodded seriously. I keep my word. Okay. Chen Guoping couldn't force Shen Heng to swear an oath. Things had come to this. She could only choose to trust Shen Heng. After all, in the hands of these two men who killed without blinking, trying to play games would only lead to a faster death. Just now, when that middle-aged man grabbed her hair and dragged her out, in that instant, she felt like a piece of pork on a chopping block at their mercy. That wall. You can open the others first. Chen Guoping, as if accepting her fate, pointed to the wall of safes opposite them. In the 5th row, 6th safe, there's a hidden switch. It can open the main vault behind this wall. Everything out here is just a fake. A fake. Shen Heng was stunned. The hundreds of millions in cash and gold bars in this vault were fake? Yes. Chen Guoping nodded in resignation and sighed. I don't know what's behind it either. This is a secret I only learned recently, after a leader called me in for a talk a while ago. I was being prepared for a promotion to the company's senior management. Only a few top-level people in the entire company know about it. Even the vice president in charge of the business department has no idea. I guess I just got lucky. After all, I'm the head of wealth management, and my old boss is about to retire. He recommended me, which is how I came into contact with this kind of information. As if afraid Shen Heng wouldn't believe her, she quickly added another explanation. So you're saying the real vault is behind this wall? Shen Heng pointed at the wall full of safes opposite them and asked again seriously. Yes. Chen Guoping lowered her head. Those safes on the opposite wall are all empty. They were designed that way on purpose. Normally, they wouldn't be used. After all, when ordinary people come to the bank for safe deposit services, the value isn't too high. We store those at the Xinghua Road branch. The vault over there is almost entirely used for storing clients' deposited items. There isn't much space for cash and gold bars. So that's how it is. No wonder Xinheng had previously thought Charit Bank was doing something redundant. They had already established their headquarters here, yet they went and built a branch on Xinghua Road, less than 2 kilometers away. It was truly like drawing a snake and adding feet. A headquarters dozens of stories high, and not far away, another branch, and a sizable one at that. Was Charit Bank just burning money? Now Xinheng understood completely. No one is allowed to touch that front wall, Chen Guiping explained softly. Once someone opens those safes, the company's leadership will be notified immediately. At the same time, a special procedure will be initiated, and the real vault will be completely sealed. Only by correctly opening the 6th safe in the 5th row can you press the switch to open the main vault door. As if afraid Xinheng wouldn't believe her, Chen Guiping added, I haven't told a single lie. You can try opening the other safes. Then open the 6th safe in the 5th row. Just see if anything changes after you press the switch. I believe you. Xinheng nodded with a slight smile, indicating his agreement. So can I go now? A look of joyful surprise flashed in Chen Guiping's eyes as she asked hurriedly. What's the rush? Xinheng said with a smile. Don't you want to see how many valuable things are in the real vault? It's not too late to leave after we've seen it. Hearing this, Chen Guiping was stunned. That's right. She had been the head of the wealth management department for so many years, yet even her predecessor, who had favored her, had never revealed the secret of the bank headquarters vault. It wasn't until the old man was retiring, proposed she take over his position, and the entire bank's board of directors approved it, that he finally revealed this secret to her. However, the internal procedures were complete, the leadership had informed her, and the official appointment decision was to be announced at the end of the month. Chen Guiping was very discreet and hadn't made it public. Therefore, the staff in the bank had no idea she was about to be promoted. If they had known, those 5 dead colleagues would certainly not have hidden any information from Chen Guiping. They would have immediately submitted to her. Wait, there are still a few safes left. Xinheng smiled at Chen Guiping, then turned to continue opening them. Very quickly, he reached the last row. The first safe was filled entirely with jewels. The second safe contained 3 Patek Philippe 5230 watches, which were extremely expensive. The third safe contained a pile of gold bars. The depositor was listed as the Tilly Auction House. This auction house was world famous. Xinheng had heard of them before. The fourth, the fifth. The items in these safes were each worth tens of millions. Clearly, the safes on this right wall belonged to the exceptionally wealthy, much more valuable than those on the left. It wasn't until he reached the second to last safe that Xinheng paused, looking with interest at the depositor's name on it. Zhao Erbao. Isn't this the tycoon from the Donglin Group? The ancestor Zixiong once dominated the east side of the city, his power immense, at one point even overshadowing Song Jinming. However, he was secretly undermined by Guo Yuping, who bribed his brothers. In the end, they murdered Zhao Erbao, causing the entire Donglin Group to collapse and splinter into countless smaller factions. The Song family then seized this opportunity to rise. I wonder what valuable things this boss Zhao has deposited. Xinheng smiled and opened the safe. However, when he saw the items inside, his pupils suddenly contracted. His whole body felt like it had been struck by lightning, and he began to tremble. No, this is impossible. Goosebumps erupted all over Xinheng's skin. He stared in disbelief at the contents, his scalp tingling. Inside this safe, there were no valuables at all. There was only a simple green plant. A snake plant. A normal, small snake plant, the kind of common houseplant that families often display. Even the pot underneath was the most common type of plastic pot. A cold sweat broke out on Xinheng's palms. He stared blankly at the green plant. Boss? Boss? Lao Qin's voice came from behind. Only then did Xinheng snap back to reality. He rubbed his eyes and looked into the safe a second time. It was still that extremely common snake plant. What's wrong? Xinheng felt an immense fear wash over him, and even his voice trembled. Are you all right, sir? Lao Qin found it strange. After you opened it, you just stood there for a long time. It's nothing. Shen Heng rubbed his face hard and casually closed the safe door. Only then did he turn to look at Chen Guiping. When were the things this Mr. Zhao deposited put in the safe? His voice tried to remain calm, as if asking casually. A few days ago, Chen Guiping frowned. Thinking about it, it seems like it was 2 weeks ago. Or maybe 10 days. Anyway, it's been over a week. And with this strange weather, it's been snowing for 6 days straight for some reason. I personally handled this deposit. I thought it was quite strange at the time. Chen Guiping had already revealed the vault's secret to Shen Heng, so naturally, she couldn't hide anything else. She hurriedly tried to curry favor, saying, before that, he suddenly withdrew all the gold bars he had deposited, exchanged them all for cash, and then borrowed 200 million from us. After that, he told me that his safe at our bank shouldn't be left empty, so he gave me that little thing and told me to put it in his safe. I just tossed it in. A useless plant. A few days ago, on the day of the downpour, he even came to the bank and asked me to help water it. Isn't that ridiculous? Chen Guiping shook her head. A snake plant can go 10+ days without water and not die, yet he still told me to water it lightly. He cares more about this useless plant than his own daughter. Her face was filled with speechlessness. The customer is always right. She remembered it very clearly. That day, when she personally watered the snake plant in the safe, she found it unbelievable. In the vault of the Chariot Bank headquarters, someone had actually deposited a snake plant in a safe and even asked her to water it. If word of this got out, people would literally die laughing. What made her even angrier was, the moment I finished watering it, it started pouring rain outside. Just my luck. She rambled on, but then noticed Shen Heng's expression growing darker and darker, so she resentfully shut her mouth. It's such a funny story. Why aren't you laughing? Your face looks like you just lost your mother. Shen Heng took a deep breath and asked, why did Zhao Erbao suddenly want to sell his gold for cash and borrow from you? That, I don't know. Chen Guiping shook her head. Actually, I heard that Zhao Erbao also approached other banks and borrowed a lot of money. Many people speculated that the Donglin Group might be having cash flow problems, but their financial situation is still good. Their business is constantly expanding, so even though they borrowed a lot, they have the ability to repay. Of course, they were granted the loans. As for why he wanted to sell gold for cash, maybe he needed the money urgently. That gold was worth 100 million. Zhao Erbao also sold off a lot of real estate and supercars at a discount to get cash. All of it was used to buy goods, filling every warehouse with food. After all, the Donglin Group is the largest food enterprise in Jiangxing. He used the borrowed money to operate the company, so our bank naturally had no objections. Chen Guiping sighed. Speaking of which, Zhao Erbao is really decisive. Stockpiling so much food, taking over the ownership of several mineral water brands. He's definitely going to make a fortune this time. Of course, we're also very happy. After all, it's only August and we've already exceeded our entire year's lending targets. Shen Heng's hands and feet went cold. Since the day he was reborn, he had felt like he was the chosen one, especially since he possessed a vending machine with infinite supplies. But now he discovered that he wasn't the chosen one, nor was he unique. Although he really didn't want to admit it, he knew it was true. Zhao Erbao, like him, was also a reincarnator. Who else would know the secret of the green plants? Only those who had experienced the era of anomalies would understand the precious value of green plants. Although out of hundreds of green plants, not even one might bear fruit, Zhao Erbao had brought this snake plant and deposited it in a safe in the vault of Chariot Bank. This was enough to prove that Zhao Erbao was absolutely certain this snake plant would bear an anomaly fruit. Therefore, his depositing this plant at Chariot Bank was probably just a precaution, a backup plan for himself. After all, in his previous life, Zhao Erbao was betrayed by those around him. If someone discovered something unusual early on, was Zhao Erbao worried that something unexpected might happen? Shen Heng subconsciously put himself in Zhao Erbao's shoes. It was even possible that those traders around him, in the future, upon discovering that Zhao Erbao had stored a large number of green plants, would become greedy and murderous. If awakened anomaly users teamed up, it would be difficult for Zhao Erbao to defend himself. All things considered, Zhao Erbao had preemptively deposited a green plant that was guaranteed to bear an anomaly fruit in the bank, as a way to create a fallback for himself. However, he would never have expected that I, also a reincarnator, would still be dirt poor and forced to rob a bank to upgrade my vending machine, and just so happened to discover his secret. If I were Musk's grandson, would I even need to consider robbing a bank? Wouldn't I just upgrade the vending machine to max level in a few minutes? Shin Hung felt even more dejected. Damn it. He was reborn earlier than me. He had plenty of time to prepare everything, borrow capital from major banks, and stockpile all kinds of supplies. If I'm not mistaken, he's probably bought up quite a few flower gardens and nurseries already. The only consolation is, I can be sure that Zhao Bao, unlike me, does not possess a vending machine. So what other special ability does he have? Or is he simply a returning king? Shin Hung rubbed his hands, his brows furrowed tightly, his expression serious. Kill Zhao Bao. This thought flashed through his mind. I have to strike early. I absolutely cannot drag this out until the anomaly fruits appear. By then, Zhao Bao will be fully prepared and even harder to deal with. It's possible I won't even be his match. After all, Zhao Bao borrowed so much money. Besides preparing supplies, he probably bought a lot of nurseries too. Shin Hung took a deep breath. Zhao Bao died in the previous life not only because of Guo Yuping's machinations in the dark, but more importantly, because the man was debauched and extremely cruel, a true tyrant. Reborn, Shin Hung admitted that if things dragged on until the green plants mutated and bore anomaly fruits, with the opponent fully prepared, he would definitely not be Zhao Bao's match. Moreover, Zhao Bao was cunning as a fox. He once spent a large sum of money to build a safe room. It could be said to be an impregnable steel fortress. This safe room was the target Shin Hung wanted to seize right after his rebirth. In his view, even if he didn't act directly, Zhao Bao would surely die in the future. If things continued to develop as they should, he would possess a powerful anomaly and even obtain Qin Xiaonu's wall-phasing anomaly fruit. Of course, he could easily occupy this safe room, but the reality was, he was afraid that his anomaly in this life would still just be the fire element, while Zhao Bao had bought countless green plants and was even more prepared. A preemptive strike is the best defense. Shin Hung had placed Zhao Bao's threat level at the very top of his priority list. He stood there, frowning. It now seemed that the apocalyptic world he was reborn into this time might be much more difficult than his previous life. He was reborn, and Zhao Bao was reborn too. Maybe there were others who were also reborn. If he was even a little careless, he could be secretly killed by other reincarnated anomaly users. Boss. Lao Qin saw that Shin Hung was spacing out again and couldn't help but ask. Haha. It's nothing. Shin Hung turned his head and gave a slight smile. Then he looked towards the last safe. But when he saw the name written on it, he was immediately stunned. The owner of this safe was named Yang Mu. My sister-in-law has a safe here too? Shin Hung opened it curiously. Inside the safe deposit box, there was only a single, strangely shaped key. What's this for? Shin Hung picked up the key. His face was blank. Well, I can just ask my sister-in-law when I get back. All the safes have been opened. Only the wall directly in front remains. This wall looked no different from the ones on either side, also embedded with safe deposit boxes. If Chun Guiping hadn't spoken up, Shin Hung would have probably followed his original plan and opened them one by one. But now, he went to the sixth safe in the fifth row and gently opened it. Inside the safe were 10 gold bars, looking perfectly normal, nothing special. Under the gold bars, near the inner left side, you just need to reach in and you'll find a protruding button. It's very cleverly disguised and hard to see. Shin Guiping saw Shin Hung looking at her and quickly explained. Shin Hung reached in. Sure enough, he found a protrusion. He pressed it firmly and heard a soft click. Then, the wall in front of them began to rumble, a crack appearing in the middle before sliding open to both sides. An even darker and deeper space appeared before Shin Hung. This is the real vault. Seeing the scene before him, Shin Hung couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. If the main hall earlier had left him extremely satisfied, then this vault behind the wall was even more astonishing. Countless gold bars were piled up in a messy heap to the left, like a small mountain. On the right, there were stacks upon stacks of cash boxes. B-Boss, in these chests are currencies from different countries. Over there is the US dollar. This side is the British pound, and there's also the euro, Canadian dollar. Chen Guiping took the initiative to introduce them. Each cash box contains 1 million units of the corresponding currency. She lightly patted a nearby chest. For example, this one is 1 million US dollars. That one is 1 million British pounds. Over there is 1 million euros. Each box also had an image of the corresponding banknote printed on it. Shinhung nodded slightly and did a quick count. Before him were 30 boxes of US dollars, which meant 30 million US dollars. The British pound and euro were similar. This time, he had really struck it rich. The few hundred million in wealth from outside earlier was on a completely different level compared to the money before him now. Just this pile of US dollars alone was worth over 200 million. Not to mention, there were currencies from other countries. The British pound and euro were even more valuable. The Canadian dollar seemed to have an exchange rate of 1 to 5 against the Longwa currency. And there's, The corner of Shinheng's mouth twitched with a grim expression as he saw another pile of cash boxes not far away. And there's the Japanese yen. This pile of yen was 10 billion. Seeing Shinheng's unfriendly expression, Chun Guiping quickly said, 10 billion Japanese yen, converted to Longwa currency, is almost 50 million. It's still good. Shinheng's expression relaxed, but as he looked towards another corner, Korean won. There are 50 billion Korean won. Chen Guiping coughed lightly. Shinheng didn't look at the money anymore, but instead looked curiously towards the far end. There, a large amount of rare precious metals was piled up neatly and orderly. These are all rare metals. Mainly platinum group metals, Chen Guiping introduced. Shinheng nodded. On the surface of these metal blocks were labels, meticulously marking their names and uses. Rhodium, palladium, osmium, iridium. Shinheng wasn't a science student. He didn't even know how to read these words. Anyway, they were rare precious metals, and that was enough. He asked, is there anything else? Over there are some documents and government bonds. It seems you're not very interested in them. Chen Guiping cautiously looked at the room filled with wealth. Shinheng finally understood what it meant to get rich overnight. The few hundred million from outside was just a drop in the bucket. This was the entire core asset of Marital Bank. Thinking about it, it made sense. This is the headquarters of Marital Bank, after all. How could it possibly only have a few hundred million in cash and gold? He lightly patted the cash box right next to him. After a moment's thought, the mountain of cash boxes at his feet vanished in an instant. Chen Guiping's eyes went wide. So many cash boxes. Where did they go? Shinheng paid her no mind and continued to walk a lap around the hall. As his figure passed by, the cash boxes piled next to him instantly vanished in a flash, without a trace. Chen Guiping's eyes were as wide as saucers, getting bigger and bigger. How is that possible? Even a ton of gold on the ground completely disappeared with a wave of Shinheng's hand, leaving no trace. In just a short time, the entire hall was empty. Chen Guiping was completely dumbfounded. What kind of trick was this? Lao Qin wasn't surprised. Seeing Chen Guiping's shocked expression, he just shook his head slightly. After Shinheng had completely cleaned out the vault, he sat down cross-legged on the ground. He couldn't wait any longer. He wanted to continue upgrading his vending machine. The personal account balance in his vending machine had now reached 2.2 billion. The system had converted 1 ton of gold into 1 billion, and the foreign currencies amounted to over 1 billion. Shinheng continuously searched for various items in the vending machine, especially the expensive ones, and bought them directly. It was the same old story. Spending money until it hurt. As he bought things, the vending machine's experience bar kept rising. After a while, his movement stopped. His personal balance was now less than 100 million, and the level of his machine had reached level 18. The experience bar read 12.98/26.2144 billion. This leveling speed is just too terrifying. Shinheng scratched his head. After adding his personal points to his various surrounding attributes, Shinheng took out a previously acquired anomaly fruit and swallowed it directly. The anomaly fruit melted the moment it entered his mouth, instantly turning into a stream of golden light and falling into his dantian. The golden core inside his dantian immediately vibrated with joy. Shinheng could even feel the golden core seemingly emitting a sense of pleasure. Unfortunately, after using one anomaly fruit, the anomaly fire still didn't level up. The small anomaly bar below his personal attributes was initially divided into 2 slots. Now, one of them was filled with a brilliant golden light. The other half was still empty. It seems it really does take 2 anomaly fruits to level up an anomaly. Shinhung was already mentally prepared. He proceeded to swallow another anomaly fruit. This time, the golden core erupted again. Streams of light flowed throughout Shinhung's body, cleansing it once before returning to his dantian. And on the surface of the golden core, another pattern appeared. The anomaly attribute in his personal stats finally changed. Anomaly, fire. Current level, 3, Samadhi true fire. Eye of fire, mind of fire, but of fire. The Samadhi true fire descends upon the world, capable of destroying 10,000-year-old mystic ice. The anomaly fire has evolved. Shinhung hadn't expected that his anomaly fire, upon reaching level 3, would evolve into Samadhi true fire. From now on, please call me Red Boy. He thought for a moment, and a spark ignited at his fingertip. This time, the flame was no longer a deep red but had transformed into 3 colors: red, blue, and purple. As the wielder of the anomaly fire, Shinhung could directly feel that this flame possessed an immense power, far greater than the previous volcanic flame. After the anomaly fire leveled up to 3, even his body was strengthened. He felt that if he were to compare pure physical strength with Lao Qin now, he should be slightly superior. The anomaly fire's experience bar didn't double this time, but was divided into 3 slots. This meant that to upgrade the anomaly fire to level 4, he needed 3 anomaly fruits. And in his hand, he happened to have exactly 3. Continue. Level up. Shinhung didn't hesitate, swallowing all 3 anomaly fruits in succession. The anomaly fire leveled up a second time. Anomaly, fire. Current level, 4, Ziwei heavenly fire. Born from the stars, fusing the power of the Big Dipper. Shinhung stood up, the bones throughout his body cracking and popping. He turned to glance at Lao Qin. He was now certain that even without using his anomaly fire, he could kill Lao Qin with a single punch. To what level had his body been strengthened by the anomaly? Lao Qin, among those with physical-type anomalies, was already considered a top talent. Shinhung's anomaly was fire, but the anomaly fruits also had the side effect of strengthening his body to a point where even Lao Qin couldn't compare. At this moment, Shinhung was certain that no one was his match. At the same time, he felt a little regretful. It seemed that each person's constitution was predetermined from birth. The anomaly fruit that originally belonged to Qin Xiaonu, which he had bought earlier, would probably only turn into experience points to level up his anomaly fire if he used it in the future. He feared he wouldn't be able to gain the wall phasing ability. Let's go. Shinhung stood up and started walking out. Lao Qin and Chen Guiping hurriedly followed. Returning to the main hall, Shinhung was in an excellent mood. This trip to the bank was well worth it. The vending machine had leveled up 5 times in a row from level 13. Of course, Shinhung was already close to level 14 before. In the fake vault outside, the vending machine had leveled up 3 times in a row to level 16. And in the real vault, he had obtained a massive fortune, pushing the vending machine to level 18. His anomaly fire had also leveled up twice in a row. A level 4 anomaly user. Who could stop him? In his previous life, Shinhung didn't even know that anomalies could be leveled up. He just blindly followed Feng Lu, occasionally going out to search for some supplies, always prioritizing his own survival. Then again, in his previous life, when the anomaly fruits first appeared, people all over the world fell into a frenzy, desperately fighting over them. The strongest anomaly users were, at most, probably only level 2. After all, to level up an anomaly to level 3 already required 2 anomaly fruits. Who could possibly find 4 anomaly fruits and swallow them all themselves? Let alone a level 4 anomaly user. In his previous life, he would definitely be a top-tier master. But Shinhung would certainly not let his guard down. See, can I go now? Chen Guiping carefully looked at Shinhung, forcing a smile. I've told you the secret of the vault. You also agreed. I said I wouldn't kill you. Shinhung waved his hand. You can go. Thank you. Thank you, sir. A look of joy appeared in Chen Guiping's eyes. She repeatedly bowed to Shinhung, then turned to leave. Watching her retreating back, Shinhung took a deep breath and stretched out his hand. A Benelli M1014 shotgun, capable of firing modified buckshot, appeared in his hand. This gun, was once the prototype for the M21 in an ancient game, known for its immense power and the nickname Single Shot. I did indeed promise Chen Guiping that I wouldn't kill her. However, I never said Lao Qin wouldn't. Lao Qin. Shen Heng quietly handed the shotgun over. He said in a low voice, 100 buckshot. Aim well. The pellets will spread. Otherwise, she'll just die in pain. After all, she told us so much and helped us get over 2 billion. Give her a clean death. Lao Qin remained silent and nodded. Just as he was about to take the gun, Chen Guiping, who was walking towards the main door, suddenly stopped, turned around, and asked hesitantly, "You seem very interested in Zhao Bao. You know more about him?" The moment she turned around, the gun in Shun Heng's hand instantly vanished. He acted as if nothing had happened and asked back, "I only know that Zhao Bao bought up the flower and plant market some time ago. Then he moved a lot of green plants to his fortress. He also moved from the Dongjiang Bay villa to the fortress in the suburbs," Chen Guiping said, parting her lips. "My husband works at the Donglin Group and is one of the core leaders, so he told me." Core leader? Shen Heng was curious. "What's your husband's name?" His name is Lu Shangyuan. He's a mid-level manager at the Donglin Group." Lu Shangyuan. Shen Heng was stunned. He never expected that this woman, Chen Guiping, was Lu Shangyuan's wife. In his previous life, after Zhao Bao was betrayed by the company's vice president, Zhu Jeli, the largest power in Jiangxing subsequently collapsed. And Lu Shangyuan. Shen Heng had a deep impression of this person. Although he was only a mid-level manager, he was absolutely loyal to Zhao Bao. When Zhu Jeli betrayed them, Lu Shangyuan fought desperately, taking several knife wounds for Zhao Bao. Even though he had an extremely rare summoning-type anomaly, he was unfortunately facing the combined forces of many anomaly users and ultimately died. Afterward, Zhao Bao was also torn apart by everyone. If Zhao Bao was reborn, then he would definitely not trust Zhu Jeli, but would trust Lu Shangyuan much more, even treating him like a blood brother. Shen Heng's eyes instantly lit up. If Lu Shangyuan could be brought to his side, dealing with Zhao Bao would naturally be much simpler. He stared at Chen Guiping. He never expected this woman to be his lucky star. Good news just kept coming. "How is your relationship with your husband?" Shen Heng walked up to Chen Guiping and asked. Of course, it's very good." Chen Guiping stammered. "Chen Guiping, right?" Shen Heng smiled. "Just now, everything in the vault completely vanished. Do you think I was performing a magic trick?" Chen Guiping's mouth fell open. "You should also know that I can take your life whenever I want." "But I didn't," Shen Heng said indifferently. "I keep my word. I hope you can be honest with me too." "I've been giving him the cold shoulder for the past few days," Chen Guiping said in a low voice. "My old boss is retiring and intended to promote me, but the condition was that I had to entertain him for a few days. So, I deliberately gave my husband the cold shoulder, argued with him, and moved out to serve. I just finished 2 days ago. I secretly came back to the bank, afraid my husband would find out. But he doesn't know. He's always been very good to me. Even during the days I was deliberately picking fights, he still called me. Now that it's snowing so heavily outside, he even called this morning to tell me that boss Zhao Bao had made him a snowmobile and told him to come pick me up." As she said these words, a strange-looking device had already appeared in Shen Heng's hand, aimed straight at Chen Guiping. After she finished speaking, Shen Heng glanced down at the device in his hand. Seeing the checkmark appear on the screen, he nodded in satisfaction. This was the system's choice lie detector. By now, Shen Heng had developed an almost blind faith in the system's choice products. Anything marked with those 2 words was guaranteed to be a top-quality item. She wasn't lying. It seems Lu Shangyuan really does care about this wife of his. Boss, what is this?" Faced with the suddenly appearing lie detector, Chen Guiping was scared out of her wits. "It's nothing," Shen Heng smiled. The lie detector in his hand suddenly vanished again, as if it had never been there. He looked up at Chen Guiping and said solemnly, "I want to make a deal with you." "A deal?" Chen Guiping was a little stunned. "That's right," Shen Heng nodded. Just as he was about to speak, he heard Chen Guiping's stomach rumble twice. How embarrassing. Chen Guiping's face turned beet red. She wanted to find a block of tofu to bang her head against. These past few days, although she had some food stored, she couldn't stand eating just a few snacks every day. It was impossible to fill her stomach. Today, she had only eaten a piece of sakama. She had been starving for a while now. Let's talk while we eat. Shinhung glanced at his watch. It was already noon. Eat and chat at the same time. Shin Guiping was stunned. Why did that sound like they were going to a restaurant to discuss business? The important thing was, the world outside was covered in ice and snow. What was there to eat? Lao Qin, how about hot pot for lunch? Shinhung asked. Boss, whatever you say, Lao Qin chuckled, but his eyes lit up. Hot pot. Where are we going to eat? If it weren't for Shinhung and Lao Qin breaking into the bank's safes and even threatening her life, Shin Guiping would have cursed him for being crazy. This weather was indeed perfect for hot pot, but where could they find it? Shinhung didn't explain. He casually found an office and walked in. Lao Qin cleared the desktop computer and other items. He cleared a table. Shinhung, as if performing a magic trick, suddenly produced a yin-yang hot pot. Under Chun Guiping's dazed gaze, Shinhung took out the hot pot base provided by the system and put it in the pot. Then, several bottles of water appeared in his hand. Shin Guiping simply couldn't believe her eyes. In this weather, the water should have frozen long ago, but what Shinhung took out was liquid mineral water. He poured the water into the pot. Lao Qin had already plugged it in. Following that, Shinhung, like a magician, took out vegetables, luncheon meat, tripe, and beautifully sliced beef. The meat was as thin as paper, its color fresh and beautiful, its texture tender, making one's mouth water. This meat isn't even frozen. Shin Guiping's eyes nearly popped out of their sockets. Shinhung took out fish balls, fresh shrimp, bamboo shoots, and many other foods. By then, Shin Guiping was completely numb. A table full of food made her feel like she was dreaming. Let's make the dipping sauce first. Do you want sesame paste, oyster sauce, or fermented bean curd sauce? Shinhung asked. I'll have anything is fine. Shin Guiping felt her tongue was tied. The steaming pot was already emitting a rich aroma, making her drool. She kept swallowing, her eyes fixed on the hot pot. Let's eat and talk. Shinhung handed Shin Guiping a pair of chopsticks. Then he and Lao Qin started putting food into the pot. The aroma of lamb and the rich flavor of the hot pot filled the office. Shin Guiping carefully picked up a piece of meat with her chopsticks, dipped it in the sauce, and put it in her mouth. The lamb, soaked in the broth, melted the moment it entered her mouth, its flavor filling her senses. Shin Guiping almost cried. She had never eaten such delicious lamb in her life. I want you to convince your husband, Lu Shangyuan, to cooperate with me, Shinhung said while eating. Cooperate on what? Shin Guiping asked with her mouth full. As she asked, the chopsticks in her hand didn't stop, quickly putting more meat into her mouth. Betray Zhao Bao, Shinhung said. Shin Guiping almost choked, her face filled with disbelief. Betray him? That's right, Shinhung said indifferently. If he agrees to cooperate with me, working from the inside, it will be much easier for me to kill Zhao Bao. Of course, if he doesn't want to cooperate. Shinhung didn't mind making this Chun Guiping's last meal. And Lu Shangyuan's too. After all, Chun Guiping had just said that Lu Shangyuan was coming to the bank to pick her up. Why do you want to kill Zhao Bao? Do you have a grudge? Shin Guiping asked in a small voice. You don't need to know about that. Shinhung waved his hand. He had no personal grudge against Zhao Bao, but Shinhung wanted to grow stronger, and Zhao Bao had similar ambitions. The two of them would clash sooner or later. Instead of waiting for a future confrontation, it was better to strike first and kill him. Zhao Bao was fundamentally different from Su Chao and Feng Lu. Zhao Bao was a self-made man who had managed to live well even in the apocalypse. If it weren't for Zhu Jelly's betrayal in the previous life, Zhao Bao would have definitely become the overlord of Jiangxing. Especially now that it was confirmed Zhao Bao was also a reincarnator, he couldn't leave such a threat alive. As for trash like Su Chao and Feng Lu, Shinhung could kill them in minutes. Even if those two consumed anomaly fruits, with Shinhung's level 4 anomaly, he could burn them to ashes. But Zhao Bao? He had even bought out the entire flower and plant market. God knows how many anomaly fruits would appear in the future. You've seen that I can conjure supplies. Seeing Chun Guiping's hesitation, Shinhung smiled. In exchange, I can provide you and your husband with abundant supplies. All Lu Shangyuan needs to do is cooperate with me when I need him. Moreover, I can guarantee his safety. The person I want to kill is only Zhao Bao. It has nothing to do with anyone else, let alone my partner. After Shun Hung finished speaking, he put down his chopsticks and looked at Chen Guiping. Chen Guiping's eating movements paused. She slowly chewed the food in her mouth. A moment later, she said seriously, I will do my best to persuade him. No rush. Isn't he coming? Wait for him to arrive, and you two can discuss it properly. Shen Hung took out a bottle of Coke and handed it to Chen Guiping. Eat slowly, don't choke. More than 20 minutes later, Chen Guiping let out a satisfied burp and leaned back comfortably in her chair. She was completely won over. I promise you, boss, I will definitely do my best to persuade Lu Shangyuan and make him listen to you. She no longer thought about her past life. Following this young man, who could provide a steaming hot pot with rich flavors in such a situation. His willingness to cooperate with her husband was an honor for Lu Shangyuan. While eating, she had completely thought it through. In the apocalypse, human lives were as worthless as grass, and supplies were more precious than life itself. For this hot pot meal, if offered outside, how many people would fight to the death to be Shen Heng's dog? But he had given her this opportunity. If she didn't latch onto this powerful figure now, when would she? Moreover, Shen Heng had just tossed her several famous Patek Philippe watches. Although they were deposited by those tycoons in their safe deposit boxes, the boss was willing to give them to her. Each of these watches was worth several million. This was enough to show his sincerity. Not listen to me, but cooperate with me, Shen Heng corrected with a smile. When necessary, revealing a few trump cards is more likely to win people over. He's just a small mid-level manager. What's there to cooperate about? I will definitely persuade him afterward to make him listen to you. Chen Guiping said hurriedly. Your willingness to give us this opportunity is our honor. If Lu Shangyuan refuses to listen, I'll divorce him. Guiping, what's wrong? Why did I hear talk of divorce as soon as I arrived? A voice came from outside the door. Then, a thin figure pushed the door open and walked in. When he saw Chen Guiping with Shun Hung and Lao Qin, the man was stunned and showed a smile. But then, seeing the still steaming hot pot on the table, Lu Shangyuan's smile froze. This is... My wife wasn't crying to me this morning, saying she had nothing to eat? Why? Why are they eating hot pot? Oh, boss, this is my husband, Lu Shangyuan. Seeing her husband, Chen Guiping quickly stood up and introduced him to Shen Hong. Boss. Lu Shangyuan was completely confused. Hello, my name is Su Chao, Shen Hong smiled. The apocalypse has arrived. It's best to keep a low profile. Outside, this name will do. After all, he and Su Chao had a relationship with the same woman. There was no difference between them. Hello, Boss Su, Lu Shangyuan said politely, his eyes unable to help glancing at the hot pot. The food looked delicious. However, he also found it very strange. There was a hot pot in the bank. I'm not from the bank, Shen Hung smiled. Then he patted Lao Qin on the shoulder. Let's go out for a walk to digest. You can talk about the cooperation with your husband. Boss. Chen Guiping also stood up hurriedly and bowed to Shen Hung. Honey, who are they? As soon as Shen Hung and Lao Qin left the room, Lu Shangyuan immediately asked. They are supermen. Chen Guiping recalled what had happened earlier, still feeling a powerful shock. Shen Hung and Lao Qin walked out of the office and went straight outside without lingering. However, just as they reached the middle of the hall, they heard Lu Shangyuan's indignant voice coming from behind the closed door of the room. You discussed with them to have me betray Boss Zhao? Absolutely not. Boss Zhao has shown me great kindness. How could I? Shut up. Chen Guiping was no longer submissive and decisively fought back. Lu Shangyuan, you listen to me. If you don't want to follow the boss, then we're getting a divorce. Let's break up. All you talk about is Boss Zhao. It's always Boss Zhao. The Donglin Group borrowed money from our Charit Bank, and that was because we worked our asses off to arrange it. We got him a 200 million loan, and what did he give you? Besides, in his own fortified fortress, he's having fun with 2 female celebrities, buying so many supplies. How much did he share with you? Aren't you also at home eating instant noodles? You work for him. He pays you a salary. Isn't that normal? He says he's been kind to you. So why have you been struggling at the Donglin Group for so many years and are still only at this level? You should know, you were with him from the very beginning. Why didn't he let you into the management level? After hearing those words, Lu Shangyuan fell silent. After a long while, he said in a low voice, Didn't he hear you were at the bank and rushed to find a snowmobile for me to come pick you up? Otherwise, how could I have gotten here to pick you up? Pick me up. Chen Guiping laughed coldly. That's right. He knew I was at the bank long ago. 3 days ago, when the blizzard hit, he even called me and asked me to take care of that snake plant he deposited in the vault's safe. If he really valued you, he should have found a snowmobile for you to pick me up long ago. Why did he wait until today to let you come? You coming this time isn't just to pick me up. He also told you to bring that pot of snake plant back, right? He probably even told you not to let the snake plant get any snow on it. Lu Shangyuan's expression changed. How did you know? Chen Guiping didn't know any of this. It was all Shun Hung who had instructed her to say it. When they were eating just now, seeing her husband's expression, Chen Guiping's heart filled with even more anger. Did I hit a nerve? Lu Shangyuan, do you know that in the eyes of that Zhao Bao, your wife isn't even as good as his pot of snake plant? And you're still willing to be his dog. You're useless. Chen Guiping gritted her teeth. No, it's not like that, Lu Shangyuan hurriedly explained. Boss Zhao told me that he will definitely promote me in the future. He also said that in this world, there are few brothers he can trust, and I am one of them. Although he's in the safe room, he has also built many underground fortresses around it. Do you know the largest, closest underground bunker, the one that connects directly to his safe room? He let me move in there. Even Boss Zhu is only in a regular bunker, but I'm a special case. Do you understand what that means? I don't understand. Chen Guiping coldly pushed Lu Shangyuan away. If you're so loyal to Zhao Bao, then you go listen to him. As for our marriage, it ends here. Ah. Lu Shangyuan was flustered. Guiping, what's wrong with you? It's him or me. Me or him. Chen Guiping's face was as cold as frost. I'll give you 5 seconds to think. 5, 2. Lu Shangyuan was stunned, then said in anguish, I'll listen to you. This was something he and Chen Guiping had agreed upon back in college when they were dating. If one of them got angry, the other would count down from 5 to give them a chance to apologize. However, the sequence 5, 2, which sounds like I love you in Chinese, also meant I'm very angry right now, but in my heart, I still love you. As long as you're willing to apologize, I will definitely give you a way out, a way back into my heart. Now, suddenly hearing Chen Guiping say this, Lu Shangyuan sighed deeply and hugged his wife, his expression earnest. He really did want to follow Zhao Bao. After all, Zhao Bao had confided in him and even promised to let him share the beautiful female celebrities in his villa. These were the 2 women boss Zhao cherished the most. Faced with such a leader, he was resolute. However, he and his wife had been together for many years. When they first got married, he was busy with work every day. When Zhao Bao had just started his company, profits were meager, and he was swamped with work. His wife never complained once. At home, she took meticulous care of his sick and elderly parents, tending to their every need, from food and sleep to personal hygiene, no different from their own daughter. In his heart, his wife had long been the most important person. Don't be sad anymore. Following the new boss is a much better choice. Chen Guiping's expression also relaxed. Lu Shangyuan leaned on his wife's shoulder, his voice a bit heavy. After all, Boss Zhao said that if I want to have some fun, I can come over anytime. Even if his wife moved into the bunker with him, after she fell asleep, he could still sneak out at night for some fun. Those female celebrities were still so alluring. Are you too sure? Shen Hung looked at Lu Shangyuan and his wife standing opposite him and asked a second time. Don't worry, sir. Since we've agreed, we will definitely not go back on our word, Chen Guiping said with a bright smile, nudging Lu Shangyuan beside her. Say something. Boss, you can rest assured. Lu Shangyuan snapped back to reality and quickly nodded. I will definitely cooperate with you. You said you can freely enter and exit Zhao Bao's safe room? Yes. Lu Shangyuan glanced at his wife and said through gritted teeth, Boss, Zhao Bao trusts me a lot. He even agreed to let me play with his 2 female celebrities. When you decide to kill him, I will cooperate by opening the door from the inside. Impressive. Just how much does Zhao Bao trust Lu Shangyuan? Shen Hung raised an eyebrow. Chen Guiping pressed her lips together and said nothing. Play then, play. After all, I was the one who said harsh words to my husband first. After everything is successful, I will guarantee your safety and provide you with all the necessary supplies, Shen Hung said with a smile. However, before that, you two come here. Both Lu Shangyuan and his wife pricked up their ears to listen. But the next second, Lao Qin suddenly struck, instantly grabbing both of them by the throat. Why? We clearly agreed. Neither Lu Shangyuan nor Chen Guiping expected Lao Qin to attack so suddenly. Moreover, Lao Qin's current speed and strength far surpassed that of an ordinary person. The faces of the two showed sheer panic, their mouths agape, gasping. With difficulty, Shun Hung took two tiny black bugs, the size of rice grains, and stuffed them into their mouths one by one. Lu Shangyuan's and Chen Guiping's eyelids twitched. They clearly realized that these two small bugs were living things. After being stuffed into their mouths, the two small insects automatically crawled into their throats and down their esophagi. Ugh! The moment Lao Qin let go, the two of them immediately started retching. What did you make us eat? Lu Shangyuan retched for a long time, but couldn't bring anything up. He looked up at Shun Hung, both angry and terrified. Sorry. I don't trust you two that much, Shun Hung smiled. Especially with what happened at the bank today, I'd rather not let others know. So I had to use some special methods. Don't worry, these two little bugs are high-tech products, not living creatures. They won't be corroded by stomach acid. They'll just lie quietly in your stomachs. If you don't cooperate sincerely, then these two little bugs will self-destruct after 5 days. And inside them is 1 gram of the element polonium. Lu Shangyuan's face changed dramatically. Honey, what is that? What is it? Chen Guiping was a bit confused by Shun Hung now. This young man. One moment he's smiling like a warm spring breeze. The next he's ruthless, his expression changing in an instant. He's practically a schizophrenic. She didn't dare ask Shun Hung, so she could only turn to look at Lu Shangyuan. Polonium is a radioactive element, 250,000 times more toxic than a common chemical poison. Lu Shangyuan trembled. 1 gram of polonium can take the lives of hundreds of large elephants. What? Chen Guiping's face turned pale, filled with terror. Relax. The radioactivity inside is sealed with a special material, so it's hard for it to leak out, Shun Hung said with a smile. However, once it comes into contact with stomach acid, their shells can only last for 120 hours. After that time, they will completely dissolve and be thoroughly absorbed into your stomachs. His smile was chilling. Lu Shangyuan instinctively held his wife tightly. However, if we can deal with Zhao Bao within 5 days, I will take these two little things out of your stomachs. You. How can you guarantee that? Lu Shangyuan summoned all his courage and asked in a trembling voice. What if you trick us? Won't we die then? I already said, this is a high-tech product. Shun Hung looked at him with disdain. Do you know how much a little toy like this costs? Would I be willing to waste it on you? It's rumored that 1 gram of polonium costs 3 trillion. Oh, 1 gram is 300 billion. But buying this little high-tech bug from the vending machine only costs 30 million. Even so, these two had each swallowed 60 million of his own money. He held a tiny remote control in his hand and pressed a button. Lu Shangyuan's expression changed again. He could feel something crawling in his stomach. Feel it? Shun Hung asked with a smirk. I feel it. Lu Shangyuan's face was pale, his forehead covered in sweat. As long as I press this button, these two little treasures can crawl up from your stomachs, along your esophagi, and even out through your mouths, Shun Heng said with a grin. Therefore, I don't need to lie to you. I believe you. Lu Shangyuan trembled, looking into Shun Heng's eyes, which were filled with fear, as if he were looking at a demon. After you go back, if Zhao Bao asks who you saw, what will you say? Shun Heng asked. Lu Shangyuan quickly replied, it was smooth sailing. I successfully picked up my wife. A few people in the bank had starved to death. My wife was hiding in her break room with the door shut, surviving on snacks. Smart. Shun Heng patted Lu Shangyuan's shoulder with satisfaction. You can go. Lu Shangyuan's legs went weak, and he staggered, nearly falling. He forced a smile at Shun Heng, then pulled Chen Guiping away. Boss, where do we go next? Do we charge directly into Zhao Bao's safe room? Watching the two trembling figures leave on the snowmobile, Lao Qin asked respectfully. Shun Heng stroked his chin and shook his head gently. No rush. Let's wait for them to get back first. Right now, the more important thing is to head to the next bank. Wanda Bank. According to Chen Guiping, The scale of this bank in Jiangcheng was second only to Charit Bank. After all, Charit Bank had moved its entire headquarters to Jiangcheng, so of course, the money in its vault was plentiful, allowing Shun Hung to make a huge profit in one trip. Wanda Bank had its headquarters in the imperial capital, but it had also established its northern regional branch in Jiangcheng, which served as a secondary headquarters. In addition, there was the local Jiangtai Bank in Jiangcheng. This was a private bank. The funds in its vault might not compare to the secondary headquarters of Wanda Bank, but it wouldn't be too little either. As for the remaining banks, Chen Guiping estimated that there wouldn't be much cash and gold bars left. Jiangcheng was almost completely dominated by these three banks. The number of customers at other banks simply couldn't compare. Currently, Wanda Bank was a 30-story skyscraper. In terms of floors, it was far behind Charit Bank. But the entire building was exquisitely and luxuriously decorated. Shen Hung took out the snow-clearing robot. This time, he had switched to the intelligent version. The stupid one had been thrown into a dark corner of his consciousness space. It had to be said, the robot the system called the intelligent snow-clearing robot was much stronger than its stupid predecessor. Although they looked almost the same, this one didn't need any buttons. After recognizing Shun Heng's voice and iris, it had completely accepted him as its master. Blocky, dig a snow tunnel. Shen Hung sent the command. The robot immediately jumped up and went directly into the snowdrift. Less than a minute later, it rushed out again. Master, the tunnel has been dug for you. Please inspect it. Shen Hung led Lao Qin into the snow tunnel. It was clean inside, unlike the stupid robot that dug tunnels like a dog paddling. Because they had experience with robbery, their coordination was even better this time. They smashed the glass door and entered. Moreover, Shen Heng's vending machine had leveled up. As soon as he entered, he directly pulled out an intelligent life-detecting dog and threw it on the ground. It immediately started running around. Lao Qin waited in the lobby on the first floor for feedback from the probe dog. Meanwhile, Shun Hung pulled out a metal-detecting cat to find the underground vault. Not long after, this little golden cat stood at a spot on the ground, turned its head, and meowed at Shun Hung. This little thing didn't need to be too smart. Shen Hung knew that once it meowed, it meant that below where it was standing, there was definitely a pile of gold. But then again, the underground vault of Wanda Bank here was really well hidden. Shen Hung searched for a while, and still couldn't find the stairs leading down to the underground vault. Damn it, even the stairs are this hidden? Shen Heng's face darkened. At the spot where the metal-detecting cat had meowed, he directly placed 2 rows of explosives. Then, he recalled the cat into his space. At this moment, the intelligent life-detecting dog that had been running upstairs had run to a room door and was barking woof woof. Lao Qin ran up the stairs in a few steps, heading towards the probe dog. Arriving at the door of the room, Lao Qin knocked. People inside, come out. There was no response. Not coming out. Lao Qin sneered. Just as he was about to break down the door, Shun Hung, from downstairs, looked up and shouted, Lao Qin, take cover. Yes, boss. Lao Qin nodded, found an open office, and leaned against a corner, covering his ears. The probe dog also followed Lao Qin inside, obediently curling up at his feet. Damn, you really are smart. Lao Qin's eyes widened, his mouth agape. If the boss hadn't said so, he wouldn't have believed that this trembling little dog was an artificial intelligence. Even in its eyes, there was a look of fear and nervousness. Lao Qin picked it up and found that the fur on this little dog was just like a real dog's. From the outside, you couldn't see anything unusual at all. This thing is a machine? Where did the boss get this thing? This is just too high-tech, Lao Qin marveled. Shen Hung had already hidden in the customer area. After plugging his ears tightly, he activated the explosives. Boom. Because the explosives were detonated right in the first-floor hall, the deafening sound was like a thunderclap in a clear sky, shattering the silence in an instant. The entire building shook violently. Inside the hall, dust filled the air, and smoke billowed everywhere, as if they were in a gray tornado. The entire building shook violently. The ground trembled. Lao Qin, hiding in the office on the second floor, instantly heard several surprised shouts from the room next door. After the tremors stopped, the door next door opened, and several figures ran out in a panic, screaming as they ran. Earthquake! Earthquake! Lao Qin suddenly rushed out, blocking their path. Who are you? The leader was a handsome young man who frowned and glared at Lao Qin. Didn't you hear the earthquake? Get out of the way. This old man looked very unfamiliar. At a glance, he wasn't a bank colleague. He naturally wouldn't be polite. I knocked on the door just now. Why didn't anyone open it? Lao Qin asked with a blank expression. What the hell are you? I told you to get out of the way. The young man cursed aggressively. But the next second, his vision blurred. Lao Qin's right hand was already gripping his neck. KKHH. The young man's eyes widened. He felt like he was about to suffocate. What made his blood run cold was that the old man's arm was still slowly applying pressure, and his body was being slowly lifted off the ground. How could he have such great strength? The other colleagues around were all confused. Then, a few of them reacted and immediately rushed to attack Lao Qin. Let him go. Bang. Bang. Lao Qin stood his ground, quickly delivering 2 kicks that sent the 2 charging men flying backward. They fell to the ground and even slid several meters back. It seems you really like to curse at people. Lao Qin's gaze once again fell on the young man. At this point, the young man's eyes were glazed over, and he couldn't speak at all. If you don't let go, he's going to die. In the crowd, a girl wearing glasses couldn't help but speak up. He's the only son of our vice president. His name is Chunjiawei. If anything happens to him, can you bear the responsibility? So he's a rich second generation. No wonder he's so arrogant. Lao Qin let go. Chunjiawei immediately collapsed to the ground, gasping for air with his mouth wide open. A moment ago, he had even felt like he was on the verge of death. Who on earth are you? The girl with glasses thought that Chunjiawei's identity had scared Lao Qin and said with a frown, Why did you dare to break into our bank? What are you all standing there for? Let's get him together. Kill him. Chunjiawei, having just recovered, pointed at Lao Qin with a ferocious expression. You dare touch me? You're dead. Not far away, the 2 men who had been knocked to the ground also struggled to their feet, their faces grim as they stared at Lao Qin. This group had more than 10 people, all young, mostly men. Hearing Chunjiawei's instructions, everyone immediately surrounded them. You're the vice president's son. You must know more secrets than they do. Lao Qin pointed at Chunjiawei and said indifferently, Besides the underground vault, where else does Wanda Bank hide its money? Lao Qin still remembered what happened at Charit Bank. If he had killed Chen Guiping on sight back then, the boss would never have gotten the money from the real vault. Therefore, before he acted, Lao Qin wanted to ask them a few questions. Ask clearly, then kill. It wasn't too late. What did you say? Not just Chunjiawei, but even the others were all stunned. Besides the underground vault, is there any other place where money is hidden? Lao Qin impatiently swept his gaze over these people. Huh. Chunjiawei burst out laughing, so hard that tears came to his eyes. Damn, did I hear that right? What did this stupid old man just say? Asking us about the bank's vault situation? Old man, I think your brain is broken. As he spoke, he swaggered forward and gave Lao Qin a push. Lao Qin stood firm, unmoving. Huh. Chunjiawei's face turned ugly. He pushed Lao Qin again with all his might. You idiot. Who let you run in here? His hand was grabbed by Lao Qin, who then twisted it forcefully. Crack! A crisp sound of bone breaking rang out. Then, Chunjiawei let out a scream like a stuck pig. Are you looking to die? The girl with glasses also stared wide-eyed. Lao Qin's face was cold. He let go. Chunjiawei immediately clutched his right arm, rolling on the ground in agony. My patience has its limits. Lao Qin's cold gaze swept across everyone's faces. It seems you still haven't figured out the current situation. If anyone else dares to provoke me, don't blame me for being impolite. Young Master Chun. The 2 men who were kicked by Lao Qin earlier hurried to Chunjiawei's side, each carefully examining his injuries. Chunjiawei's right arm was limp. It had completely lost all strength. He knew his right arm was definitely broken. Now, I ask you answer. Lao Qin looked coldly at Chunjiawei. If you don't answer, I'll smash your left arm. After all your limbs are broken, I'll kill all these colleagues of yours. Chunjiawei's face was grim, but thinking of Lao Qin's methods, he could only grit his teeth and not dare to make a sound. Still not talking? Lao Qin smiled. He suddenly slapped the girl with glasses across the face. This girl still had a sarcastic look on her face, as if she wanted to mock Lao Qin. Slap. With this slap, the girl's head directly twisted 180 degrees. The bones in her neck made a chilling cracking sound. The few people who were originally standing behind the girl suddenly saw her body go still, but her head twisted unnaturally towards them. They were stunned. Then, several of them let out piercing screams. "Shut up," Lao Qin shouted. These young girls were immediately scared into silence, not daring to make a sound. One girl had even burst into tears, but she quickly covered her mouth, looking at Lao Qin in terror. Then, as they watched the girl's body fall towards the girls behind her, everyone screamed again and hurriedly dodged. After the body fell, the girl's head detached from her body and rolled to a stop right in front of several people. "I haven't even said anything yet. Why did you suddenly attack?" Chen Jiuwei's face was pale. "Nothing. I just didn't like the look of her," Lao Qin said coldly. The dozen or so people fell silent, not saying a word. Still not answering? Lao Qin grabbed another girl. His rough hand squeezed her neck. "Let her go." Chen Jiuwei's expression was ferocious. I'll talk. Wanda Bank only has one underground vault. There's no other place to hide money," he said through gritted teeth. "Let Li Ran go." This girl was the most beautiful among them, almost as beautiful as a movie star. Lao Qin guessed. This Chen Jiuwei must care about this girl quite a bit. He didn't expect that just by trying, Chen Jiuwei would be willing to talk. Is what he said true? Lao Qin's gaze turned to a man who looked honest and kind. "Why, yes, it's true." The man swallowed hard and nodded repeatedly. Lao Qin gave a satisfied smile, then punched the honest-looking man in the face. The man didn't even have time to let out a sound before he fell to the ground, no longer breathing. "You?" Chen Jiuwei was both angry and scared. "Are you crazy? I already said, there's only one underground vault. I'm not lying. If there's only one underground vault, then all of you can die." Lao Qin sneered, then suddenly threw a punch that hit Chen Jiuwei in the face. Chen Jiuwei spat out a mouthful of fresh blood and fell backward. Click. At this moment, from behind the crowd, a soft camera shutter sound was heard. Lao Qin looked up. He saw a middle-aged man with a panicked expression putting away his phone, then looking at Lao Qin in fear. "Taking a picture of me? Who did you send that picture to?" Lao Qin approached, his expression gentle, but in everyone's eyes, he was no different from a demon from hell. After a moment, Lao Qin looked at the bodies scattered on the ground and snorted softly. The middle-aged man had also fallen into a pool of blood, his eyes wide open. This middle-aged man actually had some fighting skills. He had even taken the initiative to charge forward earlier, trying to stop Lao Qin so that others could escape. However, Lao Qin was now an anomaly user. One punch could break anything. He had sent the middle-aged man to the underworld, giving him a chance to reincarnate. The remaining people, of course, couldn't escape either. Lao Qin quickly chased them down and killed them all. Only the girl named Li Ran, whom Lao Qin had met earlier, he didn't kill. He left one survivor. This girl was not bad looking. What if the boss likes this type? Lao Qin bent down, took the mobile phone from the middle-aged man's pocket, and placed the man's finger on the screen. After unlocking it, he glanced at the WeChat chat interface. The picture of him punching Chen Jiuwei had been taken and sent to the other party. The other party's name was noted as President Chen. Lao Qin even sent the other party another message. President Chen. A madman broke into the bank and is killing people. Phew. Buzz, buzz. At this moment, President Chen's WeChat kept vibrating, indicating several new messages. What on earth happened? How is Xiaowei? Lao Qin frowned. He had been so focused on questioning them just now that he had been a bit careless. Moreover, there were more than 10 of these people, and the middle-aged man had deliberately stood at the back, which was why he was able to secretly take a picture of him. Lao Qin thought it must be Chen Jiuwei's father. Before he could think much, the middle-aged man's phone rang. Seeing no response for a long time, the anxious President Chen called directly. Lao Qin answered the call. "Lao Zhang, is my son okay? I told you all to hide. Those supplies are enough for you to eat and drink for days." A roar came from the phone. "What have you done? Say something, Lao Zhang. How is my son?" Hearing the anxious voice on the phone, Lao Qin smirked and said with a light laugh, "They're all dead." "Who are you?" President Chen was stunned at first, then reacted, his voice cracking. You killed my son?" "That's right." Lao Qin glanced at Chen Jiuwei's body and tooted. His whole face is smashed in. Looks a bit tragic. "Do you want me to take a picture for you?" "You son of a bitch." Lao Qin directly hung up the call. Then he went back, took a picture of Chun Jiawei, and casually sent it to President Chun. After that, he threw the phone on the ground and stomped on it. He turned his head to look at the trembling girl in the white dress beside him. Lao Qin gestured. "Take me to the control room." The girl's face was ashen, completely drained of blood. Her whole body trembled as she shakily walked towards the control room. As soon as she entered the control room, the girl was horrified to see on the surveillance monitor by the metal vault door below a figure standing there. This old man has an accomplice? The girl felt even more desperate. Lao Qin stepped forward and, with a flurry of punches and kicks, completely destroyed the control room. "Follow me." He glanced at the girl, then left directly, heading down the stairs. The girl hurriedly followed. Although Lao Qin was walking in front of her, she had no intention of running away. Just now, those who had run more than 10 meters away were all caught by this old man and killed with a single punch. I can't possibly escape." When she reached the main hall, the girl was horrified to see a huge, dark hole in the middle of the floor. Was this caused by the explosion just now? Before she could think much, a figure shot up from the hole. It was the young man she had seen on the surveillance monitor earlier, the one standing at the metal vault door. Lao Qin. Shen Heng nodded at Lao Qin. He suddenly saw the girl following behind Lao Qin and frowned. "Who is this?" "You know her." "Boss." Lao Qin bowed respectfully. "I was afraid the vault here might have some other secret, so I asked a few people before making my move. As a result, I really wasted some time, and one of them secretly took a picture and sent it to the higher-ups at Wanda Bank. I'm sorry, I've caused you trouble." The girl looked at Lao Qin in astonishment, then at Shen Heng. "This handsome young man is the boss of that brutal old man?" "A picture," Shen Heng said nonchalantly. "It's nothing. A picture is just a picture. What's there to apologize for?" The young man's indifferent attitude terrified the girl. "These two truly have no regard for anything. I was afraid you would blame me, so I deliberately kept the prettiest one to serve you. It would be easier for you to calm down." Lao Qin showed a fawning smile. The girl simply couldn't believe it. This old man who killed without blinking. She was actually seeing him trying to curry favor with this young man. She never expected that the old man kept her alive to appease the young man's anger. "Is this boss that formidable? What do you take me for?" Shen Heng chuckled and shook his head. He instinctively glanced at the girl and was momentarily stunned. The girl's eyebrows were very delicate. Coupled with not having washed her face for several days, the makeup on her face was smudged, but she was still a top-tier beauty, breathtakingly beautiful, even more so than the two women at home. The girl obviously noticed Shen Heng's scrutinizing gaze. She showed a lovely and slightly shy expression. "Boss, please don't kill me. I'll do whatever you want." The girl proactively approached Shen Heng and said softly, "Lao Qin, this is for you. I'm going to take care of some personal business." Shen Heng smiled. He threw the detonation device to Lao Qin and took the girl to find an office. Shen Heng walked in. "The environment isn't bad. I've never had fun on a bank desk before." He possessed a fire-type anomaly. He wasn't afraid of the cold winter. It was a good opportunity to try something new. Just as he turned around, he saw the girl proactively sitting on the desk, swinging her two legs, and looking at Shen Heng sincerely. "Boss, from now on, I'm your woman. You have to dote on me. What do you want to say?" Shen Heng was intrigued. "I want to say," the girl pouted coquettishly, "that old man is your subordinate, right? He choked me just now. You have to punish him severely. In the future, I'll be the lady boss. If word of this gets out, where would my face be?" "Ah, no, where would your face be?" "Haha," Shen Heng laughed. The girl also revealed a smile. "Let him know that he can't just act on his own and kill so many people without distinguishing right from wrong." "Are you done?" Shen Heng's face darkened. It would be best to beat that old man to death. She wanted to continue speaking. But the next moment, Shen Heng shot out a flame that struck the girl between her eyebrows. The moment the flame touched her body, it instantly engulfed her, turning her into a pile of black ash. "What a piece of trash," Shen Heng snorted. He disdainfully pulled open the office door and walked out. "Boss, you were that fast?" In the hall, Lao Qin hadn't even had time to detonate the explosives when he saw the boss come out, a look of astonishment on his face. "That was way too fast. Is the boss really a 5-second man? What are you talking about?" "I killed her." Shen Heng glared angrily at Lao Qin. Are you stupid? Didn't you see the hatred in that woman's eyes when she looked at you? And you still wanted her to follow me? She wanted to be my pillow partner, then whisper in my ear and drive a wedge between us. Boss, I am absolutely loyal to you. You see things clearly, you definitely wouldn't listen, Lao Qin said with a foolish grin. She even told me to deal with you. Shun Hung scolded Lao Qin. Don't pull this kind of crap in the future. I may be a lecher, but I don't want just any woman. That kind of green tea bitch, I don't even have the interest to play with her. Don't think I'm some useless guy who just freezes up when he sees a pretty face. Haha, yes, boss. Lao Qin nodded repeatedly. Here's the device. Shun Hung kicked Lao Qin. And another thing, if people find out, they find out. What's there to worry about? You're my man. We faced difficulties together. Brothers united can drain the Eastern Sea. Haven't you heard that before? Who do you take me for? Lao Qin rubbed his butt and handed the device to Shun Hung, but his heart felt strangely warm. Looking at his back, Lao Qin's eyes even got a little misty. How many years had it been since someone said something like that to him? He even felt like he was back in the army, his blood boiling with passion. Following a boss like Shun Hung was his greatest fortune. Although Shun Hung was young, an image kept flashing in Lao Qin's mind at that moment. A general who has fought for half his life only regrets not having met a wise lord. Shun Hung really did want to try something new. He had been reborn. He now possessed superior strength and didn't need to hold back. Beautiful women. Who wouldn't want them? But that girl just now, her demeanor and the way she spoke, like a prostitute trying to act pure, was exactly like Feng Lu, which made Shun Hung extremely uncomfortable. The image of Feng Lu was deeply etched into his bones. His ability to be reborn was all thanks to that woman. Therefore, although he really wanted to let that girl taste the power of his turkey, just now, Shun Hung still killed her directly. With Shun Hung's personality, if he really had a physical relationship, he wouldn't just leave her. At the very least, he would leave enough supplies to help her survive. He still couldn't do the whole hit it and quit it thing. Even with Wang Jie's 3 girlfriends, if they could survive by following Wang Jie, Shun Hung wouldn't bother with them. Boom. A loud explosion came from underground. The entire Wanda Bank building shook violently once again. After waiting for a moment, Shun Hung and Lao Qin jumped down into the hole. The underground vault of Wanda Bank, just like Chariot Bank's, was quickly swept clean. Half an hour later, Shun Hung and Lao Qin jumped out of the hole and left swaggeringly. The underground vault had been completely looted. His account balance, after a series of upgrades, was less than 100 million, but now it had soared to 1.5 billion. Because Wanda Bank only had one underground vault, and this was its Jiangshang headquarters, the harvest was quite bountiful. An hour after Shun Hung and Lao Qin left, in the quiet snow, 2 snowmobiles quickly approached and stopped in front of Wanda Bank. On the leading snowmobile sat a middle-aged man with an imposing aura. On the other vehicle were 4 burly men built like towers. The middle-aged man had a cold expression. The moment he saw a snow pit not far from the main entrance, he immediately drove the snowmobile over. The vehicle behind hurriedly followed. One of the burly men got off, laid a prepared wooden plank over the snow, and then walked towards the entrance of the snow pit. He jumped down without hesitation. A moment later, he returned and reported, "President Shun, this is a tunnel deliberately dug by someone. It leads directly into the bank." Chun Jintian had an ugly expression. With the help of several other burly bodyguards, he entered the snow passage and went into the bank. The bank's lobby was a mess, in a state of disrepair. As soon as they entered the main hall, 2 bodyguards spread out to search. The other 2 stood guard vigilantly beside Chun Jintian. A moment later, the walkie-talkie on the guarding bodyguard's hip crackled. "I found young Master Chen's body at the door of room 217 on the 2nd floor." The bodyguard looked at Chun Jintian with some anxiety. The man was already striding towards the stairs, arriving at the door of room 217. Chun Jintian saw a body and immediately staggered. The bodyguard beside him quickly supported him. Chun Jintian pushed the bodyguard away and walked up to Chun Jiawei. Looking at his son with his disfigured features, he let out a heart-wrenching wail. The 2 bodyguards squatted down to examine the body. Then, they reported in a low voice, "President Shun, this was done by someone using their fists, a direct and brutal killing." Young Master Chen likely suffered a great deal of pain before he died. You're saying, my son was brutally beaten to death? Chen Jintian's old tears streamed down his face, his eyes filled with ferocity. Yes, the bodyguard nodded. Moreover, the opponent is likely a martial artist. All the punches were concentrated on the center of young Master Chen's face, shattering all his facial bones. President Chen, another guard interjected. Wing Chun, do you know it? It's like in that old movie, Ip Man, from 100 years ago. When Ip Man practiced his fist techniques, too quick, precise punches to the same spot could cause immense damage. Chen Jintian frowned, deep in thought. In his memory, Chen Jintian had no such enemies. Why would the opponent have a grudge against his son? And they even hired a Wing Chun practitioner to kill my son? After all, in the picture Lao Zhang secretly took, he had never seen Lao Qin's appearance. They never considered that Lao Qin had used just one punch to shatter Chen Jiuwei's entire face. These bodyguards didn't even consider it. Who could shatter a person's entire face with a single punch? President Chen, the fourth bodyguard, came over at this time and reported, those people have been gone for a while. The bank's underground vault has been destroyed and looted. There's nothing left. I went to the control room. The control room was also destroyed. We can't check the surveillance cameras. Take Xiao Wei's body. Let's go back first, Chen Jintian said after a moment of silence. The four bodyguards said nothing, understanding his meaning, and lifted Chen Jiuwei's body to leave. Just a few steps later, Chen Jintian suddenly stopped and looked around doubtfully. Bodies were scattered all over the ground. Lao Zhang, his son's bodyguard, had also died a tragic death on the spot. But only, where's that girl Li Ran that Xiao Wei has been pursuing recently? Chen Jintian said with a frown. You guys split up and look for her. I want to see her, dead or alive. Yes. The four bodyguards immediately left. Besides them, there was no one else in the entire building, so they didn't need to worry about Chen Jintian's safety. Li Ran. Chen Jintian looked around with a grim expression. He could be sure that Li Ran had not died here. When the blizzard hit, he had indeed thought of bringing his son home immediately. But his son said at the time that he could use this opportunity to cultivate his relationship with Li Ran, so he refused his father's offer. Chen Jintian didn't think much of it. He just sent Lao Zhang over and brought a lot of supplies, enough for them to eat for 10 days to half a month. Just this morning, he had even spoken to his son on the phone. His son said he was about to win Li Ran over. Chen Jintian was very understanding of his son's playful and lecherous nature. In his view, this was a normal hobby for all men. He himself kept a mistress and a lover outside, let alone his son, who was so young. Moreover, Li Ran was also an employee of Wanda Bank. If his son hadn't taken a liking to her, Chen Jintian might have even had the intention of taking her for himself for a bit of fun. He never thought that now his son was dead, and Li Ran was nowhere to be found. Where did this woman go? However, after a long while, the four bodyguards all returned to Chen Jintian's side, all shaking their heads, indicating they hadn't seen Li Ran. It would be a ghost if they did. Shen Heng had burned Li Ran to ashes with fire, leaving not even bones behind. Who would have thought that the pile of black ash on the desk and floor in the first floor office was Li Ran? They would probably just assume that someone was trying to keep warm in the office and the fire got out of control. Get control of Li Ran's family for me, Chen Jintian said with a ferocious expression. And that old man who beat my son to death, have you found out who he is? The lead bodyguard shook his head with difficulty. Not yet. Xiao Qi has gone to the police station to request access to the system to look up information. I believe we'll have results soon. I'll wait a few more days. Chen Jintian took a deep breath. To be able to blow up even the bank's vault, this is definitely not an ordinary person. President Chen, please restrain your grief. We feel like Xiao Wei was our own brother. We are also very heartbroken. The lead bodyguard supported Chen Jintian. Xiao Yi, you don't need to worry. Even if I know who the killer is, this old man will be careful. I must strike with a single, fatal blow. Xiao Wei is already dead. I can only plan meticulously to avenge him. I understand this principle. Chen Jintian's face was filled with anguish. Xiao Yi said in a low voice, President Chen, after we find the information on the other party, we brothers will risk everything to tear him to pieces. In our hearts, Xiao Wei was like our own brother. Let's go. Chen Jintian gritted his teeth. The people behind him lifted Chun Jiuwei's body and left in silence. At this moment, Shen Heng, beaming with joy, walked out of Jiangtai Bank with Lao Qin, got on the snowmobile, and prepared to return to Taoyuan residential area. A profitable venture. There wasn't a single living person in Jiangtai Bank, only 6 corpses. It seemed they had frozen to death long ago. Each corpse was covered in a layer of frost. The bank's vault was also very easy to find. After quickly blowing it open, Shen Heng looted all the gold bars and cash inside. Shen Heng's account balance once again soared to 2.8 billion. To upgrade from level 18 to 19 required 2.62144 billion experience points. He could now reach level 19. Reaching level 19 also meant he could get another anomaly fruit. And this anomaly fruit was the key for Shen Heng to kill Zhao Erbao. Jiangtai Bank was quite a distance from the Taoyuan community. On the way, Shen Heng easily robbed 2 savings banks and 1 credit union. However, these small transaction points were just as Chun Guiping had said. They had very little cash, only a few million. The only good thing was that these small banks didn't have specially made vaults. A single powerful explosive was enough to blow them open. It was really simple. To reach level 20, he needed over 5.2 billion in funds. Every little bit helps. Otherwise, for that 5.2 billion, how many instant noodles would he have to sell to earn it back? Reaching level 30 was an even more astronomical figure. The savings banks were all located near residential areas. The loud explosions attracted the attention of many households. Many families stood on their balconies, watching Shen Heng rush into the savings bank. Then the bank exploded, and Shen Heng excitedly ran out the door. Everyone could only shake their heads. This kid is crazy. Just him alone. He even managed to get bombs. Why not go blow up the warehouses of Walmart or the lucrative Donglai supermarket? Why rob a bank at this time? Even if you get the money, are you going to burn it as ghost money to keep warm? A group of people didn't say anything to stop him, but quietly watched the show. Shen Heng sped all the way. When he saw gold shops along the road, he also rushed in to rob, smash, and wreck them. The profits from a gold shop were obviously much higher than from a bank. A small gold shop like this had about 20 kilograms of gold. After being collected by the system, this amounted to over 20 million. An average gold shop could bring Shen Heng about 50 million in profit. On the way home, Shen Heng even deliberately detoured to the large Jiangxing Jinxin jewelry gold shop. All the jewelry in the counters, Shen Heng didn't care if it was real gold or not. He just absorbed it all. And below the counters were all safes belonging to the gold shop. However, in front of Shen Heng's master key, these sophisticated high-level safes were like drunken young women, opening however he wanted. A total of 600 kilograms of gold were stored inside the Jinxin jewelry store, directly increasing Shen Heng's account balance by 600 million. By the time Shen Heng returned to the community, night had already fallen. But today's harvest was quite bountiful. Not to mention the vending machine had leveled up several times. Shen Heng's personal account balance now reached 4.1 billion. After reaching level 19 and deducting the 2.6 billion, he still had 1.5 billion left. This meant that for the vending machine to level up to 20, nearly 1/3 of the required funds were already in his hands. Entering the north gate of the community. Looking at the villas on this side, Shen Heng's heart suddenly stirred slightly. When you drink water, don't forget the one who dug the well. The rapid leveling of the vending machine was impossible without the initial support of his good brother, Wang Jie. He thought he should pay him a visit to deepen their relationship and also to ask Wang Jie for some information about his hideout. After taking out the original snowmobile, Shen Heng threw it to Lao Qin. You go back first. I have something to do. All right. Lao Qin nodded and drove the snowmobile away. Shen Heng then took out a large amount of supplies, put them in a sack, and went to Wang Jie's window and knocked lightly. Damn, brother, you're here. Wang Jie, who was on high alert, was stunned when he saw Shen Heng outside the window. Then he quickly pulled him in. The room was warm. It was clear that thanks to the supplies provided by Shen Heng, Wang Jie's life wasn't bad. However, as soon as he entered the room, Shen Heng's nose twitched slightly. He smelled the faint scent of blood. Did someone come here? Shen Heng asked with a frown. Wang Jie smiled bitterly and waved his hand. Hey, don't even mention it. Starting last night, people came to rob us. But they couldn't open the window, so they retreated. Then, you won't believe it, a damn locksmith showed up and went straight for the window lock. Almost scared the soul out of me. Luckily, I have a hobby of archery. I sent him off with a single arrow. The rest of them saw that and ran for their lives. Shinhung noticed that Wang Jie was still holding a bow and arrow. I just went out for a bit and brought some supplies for you. Shinhung dragged the sack. This time, he brought a lot of vegetables, various meats, and seafood. So much good stuff. Wang Jie's eyes lit up. He turned and shouted downstairs, "Stop hiding. It's Brother Shun. It's safe now." Soon, a few hurried footsteps were heard, and 3 beautiful girls appeared. Seeing Shun Hung, all 3 breathed a sigh of relief. The red-haired girl jumped into Shun Heng's arms, hugging his neck tightly. I thought I'd never see you again. You haven't come to see me in days. You're a 1,000-year-old fox spirit. What's with the deep affection act? Shun Hung laughed and patted her, but lightly, signaling her to get down. These are the new supplies I brought. You girls go make a meal for young Master Wang first. We have something to talk about. The red-haired girl pouted resentfully, then planted a quick kiss on Shun Heng's cheek before skipping downstairs. Having another man in the house also brought a bit more life to the 3 girls. This is for you. Shun Hung reached into his pocket, took something out, and quietly placed it in Wang Jie's hand. This is a gun? In Wang Jie's hand was a heavy object. He looked down and sucked in a cold breath. Where did you get this? You don't want it? Shun Hung raised an eyebrow. Of course I want it. Wang Jie quickly stuffed the gun into his chest. Brother, I know the rules. I won't say anything, and I won't ask you. You can rest assured, I definitely won't bring you any trouble. He took out his mobile phone and transferred a sum of money to Shun Hung. This is all I have left. Brother, don't mind that it's not much. He had earned another 80 million. Shun Hung hesitated. This is a bit too much. It's not the same, Wang Jie said.